This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Southampton Select Board for April 12th, 2022. If we could all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Very good. All right. Well, welcome to Select Board, and we will get started. So we don't have any public hearings. We do have some open time for the public. So do I see a person who might want to address us tonight? Come on up forward, Richard.
Excuse me, but I can't talk too loud.
That's fine. You just pull that down a little bit. There you go. Perfect.
Short people. Anyway.
Just introduce yourself.
My name is Richard LeClaire. I live at 55 Strong Road. I'm representing the American Legion, Post 168 in Southampton. I'm here to ask for permission to do a Memorial Day parade.
Yay. Yay.
I mean, there's a lot more to it than that, but I need your permission first.
Okay. All right. I think we have talked about this a little bit. Do I have a general consensus here about a Memorial Day parade without having to have a formal vote?
No.
I think you have our support, yes.
Very good. Now, I need to ask each and every one of you to join us Memorial Day when we do our parade and marching and all. Your participation will be well needed. We need everyone to be out there marching.
Great.
I have a great committee. It's right here.
I just wanted to say thank you. And I noticed that on the select board, the agenda at the bottom as pending is Memorial Day Parade and dedication, I think. So Mark, myself, and Rich met yesterday, and the way that it's normally ran is the parade is held, and starting at Norris, march to the cemetery, have the dedication there, or the flower laying, and then march to the center and do the wreath laying for the two monuments. And then Mark and Rich asked that after the wreath laying is done, that it could get turned over to the Lions Club, because we heard that the Lions Club was dedicating the gazebo that day, but they would like to keep Memorial Day separate from that. So they would like to just do everything Memorial Day and then thank everybody for coming to the parade, and then turn it over to the Lions. So if
the
that's
Lions
okay
is
with
a great part of this community.
Yeah.
And they need to be honored also.
Yep.
I think the vast majority of them are members of the Legion.
Yeah. They just wanted, we talked about just keeping it separate because Memorial Day is Day of Remembrance, and then we know that they're dedicating the gazebo to some people who have passed on that were veterans or so.
Can I just ask a question? In the past, a variety of us have helped with invitations and flowers and all that sort of thing. So I'm just wondering, are you meeting and discussing what's needed? I know there's a...
We were trying to get away from doing invitations this year.
Okay,
That's why I'm asking people. And I need permission to ask the fire department, police department, and the highway department for their participation. We need all the vehicles we can get out there, make a lot of noise for the kids.
And when we met yesterday, we had talked about making a list of what needs to be done as far as flowers and getting the Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, school, because if it rains, the rain date is inside the school.
Yeah, right.
So,
All the planning goes out the window when we go to Plan B in the school.
right. So, but we wanted to get permission from you all
Yeah,
first.
absolutely.
It all has to start with
Yeah.
you.
Yep.
So,
Well, I think I can speak for all of us, saying that we are welcoming you to start the Memorial Day Parade activities again after a couple-year hiatus.
I was out of this and they pulled me back.
And we're so happy to have it resume again.
Exactly.
So nice. A couple of years ago, when the last one, I think a friend of mine came, remember he was a veteran and sang the national anthem? I don't know if you have his contact or if you even need it, but his name is Larry White, and
Yes, we'd like to get him, but
Yeah.
I have no contact with him.
I do.
Yeah.
So I'll go
Yeah.
ahead and I'll give it to you right now, actually.
that would be great.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much so.
Yeah, because we made a list of who we could possibly have as a speaker, as a singer. We're going to talk to the community chorus to see if they want to take part. We're going to talk to Hampshire Regional, to the musical department to see if they want to, and see if anybody wants to march with old vehicles and
Right.
some floats.
Yep.
So,
I think once the word gets out,
Yep.
people will be excited to get back in on a Memorial Day Parade. I'm predicting
Sorry,
that.
we're off on a late start, but the COVID didn't make it any
Yeah.
easier for us.
That's right.
and usually it culminates with this, the Citizen of the Year, but because they're doing it at Celebrate Southampton, which is great because everybody will be there too. That's why we're,
Doing that.
that's why we're doing the wreath laying of the monuments, and then
You didn't mention Jerry, is he a part of this as well?
Jerry.
Our veteran agent?
Oh,
He-
Jerry
he-
Paquette?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Paquette.
I haven't had a chance to get a hold of him.
Okay,
Yep.
all right,
I've been waiting to talk to you
Yeah,
first.
everything was waiting until
okay.
he talked to you, so.
Great, okay. I think it's a go.
Great.
Thank you so very
Wonderful.
much.
Thanks, Lucy.
So much.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, very good.
Thanks, Richard. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you so very much.
All right.
All right,
Good,
take
thank you.
care.
Yep.
Tammy Walunas, 298 College Highway. On behalf of the Southampton Historical Society, we also want to follow up with that event that's happening that weekend, but the next weekend after it, June 4th, Clark Chapman House Festival will be happening. That will be 1 to 4. It is going to be open to all people, and we have a lot of stuff to show you. So we have a band that's coming in, and there'll be refreshments, and we hope to see lots of townspeople there. So
Sounds
mark
great.
that calendar
All right.
down.
I think we're in a celebratory mode here this summer here, hopefully, so, sounds great. All right. Okay, anyone else for open time?
I just wanted to speak about the caucus last week. I don't know if anybody saw the minutes. They were, okay, so they're supposed to be put back on the website, so,
You're back.
okay, thank you. Just to let you know, we did meet our quorum. It was tough, but we got there. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Sorry you couldn't come, but
Yeah, sorry, I was away.
that's okay. We had 6 people nominated on the floor, and they all accepted, but one of them withdrew today. She had 7 days, so, and she withdrew her nomination, so. But it went well, and hopefully the election will go just as well. So we still have a lot of open seats, though, just so you know.
Yeah.
And how many write-ins does it require?
For,
If someone wants to do a write-in at this point, how many signatures are required?
well, I mean, as long as they get as many votes as they can get.
It was a minimum number, no?
Nope, no minimum. Nope.
Okay.
One. As long as, if there's only one and no one else, then.
One, okay.
Okay, all right. Thank you,
right,
Lizzie.
thanks.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Lucy.
appreciate it. All right. Okay, let's move on. I think Easthampton Media has canceled their presentation, right, Ed? He was not ready yet? Okay. So I think they had to have their own board meeting first before they could come back to us. So the schedule got a little bit turned around there. So let's keep on moving. We don't have any quarterly reports tonight. We would have normally had police and fire back up again, and we had them just recently at the budget meeting, and it was like, we don't need to keep bugging these guys to come back and talk to us about some of the same things. So decided to give them a reprieve tonight, and we'll see who's up the next meeting. With that, Town Administrator report. Ed?
Sure. Let's see, East Street Road Design, we did have a meeting with VHB and Mass DOT regarding the East Street Road Design and placement on the tip remotely this past Friday, April 1st. This was a productive meeting, which Mass DOT passed on several recommendations concerning this project and the expanded cost of doing the entire length of East Street, both design or construction, and having it successfully placed on the tip. VHB will be working with us to present a new draft scope of the project for consideration at the May Mass DOT meeting for tip placement consideration. Let's see, this week the paving contractor has returned to Southampton now that the paving plants have opened for the spring and is completing the remainder of the work from last year's paving construction program. Yesterday they worked on a repaving for a portion of Gilbert Road, and today they were working on an overlayment of the paving for a portion of East Street, which is located westerly of the bridge. Tomorrow, Wednesday, April 13th, they will start the overlayment of the paving on portions of East Street which are east of the bridge or towards Cook Road.
Great.
We have had some networking and server issues, which started on Friday afternoon and continued into yesterday and this morning. Working with one of our vendors, I was able to reboot our server, and it has restored and is accessible to all the town hall employees again. The server is now between 7 and 8 years old, and it is time to move forward with a replacement. An unrelated, shall we say, networking or IT note for those of you that access your emails through your phones. Our SSL certificate, which is through Bluehost, expired yesterday. We had actually processed payment to them, and they received it on March 29th. However, this is the third year in a row, and actually it's been every year since I've been here, that I don't know if they, once they get that, they don't schedule the renewal and the installation of that certificate internally correctly, or if they install it incorrectly. But this is the third year in a row that on the day after the old certificate expires and the new one has gone into place, that we have gotten the message that you will see either on your phones or your computers that it's an invalid certificate. So I will spend probably an hour or an hour and a half with them tomorrow morning straightening out that issue.
Is there anything that we have to do, or just wait?
No,
Okay.
it's just the fact that, like I say, that they were paid for the renewal of that. It should have been, like I say, every year, and I don't know if they install it incorrectly when it gets renewed, or if they just mess up the, and haven't clicked off the fact that they have to install it for the 12th. But yeah, it's the third year in a row we've gone through this.
Can I ask a question?
You may ask. Oh, I should say that it's up to the chair, not me. So, sorry about that.
All right.
I just wanted to ask, so when that message comes up, it says, would you like to view this certificate? So if you click on that,
Just click on yes.
Click on yes?
Yeah.
And then it disappears.
And then it says,
And it
do you
goes
want
away.
to install? No.
No.
Okay, so they have to do the install?
Yeah, they have to do
Okay,
it.
all right, okay.
Yeah.
But just,
Yeah, if you click on yes, it'll disappear.
it goes away.
I've been clicking on.
Yeah, it's a pain.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I agree, it is a pain. So
Yeah.
hopefully, once I contact them in the morning, that they will get that straightened out fairly soon. Let's see. Just to let you know that one of the 2 town hall heating hot water pumps has begun to leak and will need to be replaced. I am getting an estimate on the cost of its replacement to make sure we have enough money as we are approaching the end of the fiscal year and have just under $5,000 remaining in the town hall expense account for that type of repairs. We did receive 6 responses to our request for quotes for on-call engineering services. The responding companies were the Berkshire Design Group, GZA Geo-Environmental, Inc., Ty and Bond, VHB, Environmental Partners, and Comprehensive Environmental, Inc. These qualifications will now be, from these companies, will now be rated and recommendations given to the Select Board for awards. And let's see, lastly, HM Noons did notify us today that they will begin their finish work, cleanup work, whatever you want to call it, around the new pickleball courts this week. They will be doing the completion of the fence, benches, cleanup and grading around the outside, and reseeding. They are waiting to hear from Vermont Recreational on their scheduling of the actual court surfacing, which still needs to be done, and will let us know of that schedule as soon as they hear. And then upcoming select board meetings, next regularly scheduled, next regular meeting is April 26th. Joint Select Board Finance Committee meeting Thursday, April 14th, and annual town meeting Tuesday, May 3rd.
Okay. Any questions? I've got a couple. Go ahead, Rini.
What's the life right now of that water pump? How old is it?
Since I'm making an assumption, since I wasn't here when the building was remodeled, but I would think that that was installed as part of the remodel back in 2011, so it's 11 years old.
Okay, so probably not any kind of warranty.
No.
The other thing is, do you have an update on the sidewalk in front of the cemetery?
They were out there working on it again today, doing some grading. What they have left is the grading and seeding, the installation of the ADA pads, and also the installation of the granite curb out there.
You know, I really think there needs to be a guardrail. You know, I don't know how that can happen, but that sidewalk is incredibly close to a very busy road, and I don't know what it would take to actually have a guardrail there, but I don't think a curb. I mean, I think about little kids riding bikes, and I just don't feel comfortable without having a guardrail. It's literally like this far away from the road.
Are you talking about the part around the tree, or just that part, or the entire thing?
Just a part around the tree.
Where it deviates around the tree?
So I don't know if you can talk to Ryan, or, like, I know that it's going to end up costing more money, but I just don't think it's safe. I don't care how high a curb is from the road. It's really close.
We'd have to have it permitted by DOT, and then we'd have to find a funding source, because we have tapped out on
Okay,
that grant.
I just want to mention that because I really feel like that's what's needed for that place to be safe.
Yeah, I just want to add to Rini, I agree with her, I thought the same thing. I mean, just one, little kids on bikes, just one turn, and they're off the sidewalk and in the road. So I think anything that can prevent them from going out and vehicles coming in, like the same guardrail that they have down the
a little bit further down the
path
road.
between High Street and Town Hall.
It would only have to be, you know, a dozen feet or something, but
Yeah, okay. It's interesting, because DOT had come out and actually walked it and looked at it, and they'd signed off on what the whole design was, so.
Correct.
But
just very
valid points
surprised.
now that we see it in place. Just another one on the East Street road design. That sounds like it's progressing good. Am I understanding that we have the possibility to do the entire thing and not just a Whispering Meadow? No. Okay.
The
Okay.
entire thing is estimated at $19 to $25 million, which would not,
Right.
is too big a project for the tip.
Okay. So when you said Mass DOT passed on, you meant that they did not approve, not that they accepted it?
No, that they passed some recommendations along to us
Okay.
and VHB about moving forward.
But then expanded the cost of doing the entire length and having it successfully placed on the tip?
When this was originally put on the tip, it was a $6 million project from Route 10 to, all the way out to
County Road area?
County Cook Road. It is now, if you did the entire length, $19 to $25 million.
Okay.
The sweet spot that they tell us in the tip for a project is about $6 to $10 million to actually get something funded. So right now, one of the suggestions was to take a look at, originally when we were thinking of phasing it, of doing it from like Route 10 to Strong Road and then the rest of the way out. Right now, one of the recommendations to us and VHB is to take a look at the design to do from Route 10 out to Whispering Meadow.
Right.
I hope I said that right, because I'll get it mixed up with the one that's off College Highway. And then for Phase 2 to look at doing the rest of the distance from, Whispering Meadow out to Colony Road. I will let you know that, and we'll probably, we talked about this a little bit last week of culvert assessment and the MVP grant program that we were going to apply for, but one of the pieces that will make the Whispering Meadow to Colony Road.
It's actually County Road.
Or
but it's-
County Road.
I would say
yeah.
more Line Street, because that's more the Southampton side.
Right. It changes names so many times through there, I get confused. So, but probably maybe about 400 yards after a Whispering Meadow there's currently a culvert. However, if we do it to Mass DOT standards and going out and either do sidewalks on both sides or do one side with a shared use path type of thing, it will widen that. And instead of replacing a culvert, it will actually become a small bridge project, which that culvert alone becoming a small bridge right now has a price tag on it, an estimated price tag of $900,000.
Okay, so at this point, what will be on the tip is just that first phase. What they're trying to get on the tip is just the first phase.
Correct.
And there might be an opportunity for infrastructure money?
That's what we're thinking, and actually it was one of the recommendations from, Mass DOT to keep thinking about
Correct.
that second phase, and yes, rather than going back or waiting for the tip, it might be a very good opportunity for the infrastructure money coming down.
So what's the estimate on the current plan? It falls between 6 and 10, but is there a dollar amount for between
You mean going to Whispering
Route
Meadow?
10 to Whispering Meadow?
They're estimating that right now at $10 million.
And is there an estimate for going from Whispering Meadows to Line Street? A current estimate? No?
I mean, they were not focusing on that, but the interpretation of that from the overall estimate would be somewhere between $9 and $15 million if you extrapolate the estimate for the entire length of 19 to 25 for the 10.
Okay.
But a lot of that depends on if the town, applied for waivers to do sidewalks on just one side or what have you going out, so.
Right. Well, I think if nothing else, people ought to be happy to see the paving work happening on both Gilbert and East Street. That should make the ride a little bit smoother, at least for the near future, hopefully. So
Absolutely.
glad that Randa was able to get that scheduled with the paving companies and that we're getting a handle on that. So very good.
Yeah, he had been on them to get them back out here as soon as the paving plant's open, so.
Okay. All right, let's do some select board reports. Anybody, John, you got anything offhand?
PPP hasn't met since our last one. We are meeting the third Wednesday of April. The agenda's already posted. Finance continues to meet on a every other night basis. We had the joint session. They're meeting tomorrow night, and then on Thursday as well. And Capital Committee has met, and there is a report or communication in on that, so I won't go into detail on that. And the acting chair of the committee's here if there's questions on that request.
And I think our joint meeting is Thursday, right?
Correct.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, finance is
6:30.
doing smaller.
You're doing yours tomorrow night? Okay.
Well, I'll be at school committee, but
Well,
yes.
finance is doing their meeting, yeah, okay. Gotcha. All right. That's it? All right, Francine?
Okay, real short. There was only one, I've only attended one meeting since our last, since we got together last. Norris met on March 30th. They approved the preliminary budget, and they're meeting again tomorrow night to conduct the second and final vote on the budget. And that's it.
Okay. Good. Rainey?
Okay, so all of these committees have met. So CPC met Monday, the 4th, and approved the request from the Housing Committee to purchase land on College Highway for affordable housing. That'll be on the warrant for the ATM. No meetings are currently planned. Public Safety Building Committee also met on the 4th, clarified the charge of the committee, reviewed the town-owned land. That's a 0.5 and a separate list of 1.0 mile radius from, quote, the town center. I still think that needs to be looked at. The town center for this purpose purpose was Palmery Meadow Road and Route 10, and I think that needs to be relooked at, because I do think there are lands that are excluded. So that committee will meet again on the 25th, which is 1 week later because of the holiday on Monday, and it's 4:30 on the 25th. Council on Aging met on the 6th. They discussed the open position of the program coordinator. They're still looking to fill that position. Just want to let everybody know that Florence Collins, who's our longtime volunteer coordinator, is retiring June 30th. Just want to thank her for all of her service to the town of Southampton. She was instrumental during the lot of leadership changes with the new director, and was somebody that was a consistent person in the center, and it was a huge help during all that change. The Feasibility Committee, there's several appointments that we're making tonight, potentially to that committee, and there is a meeting tomorrow at 12:30 by Zoom. There are many programs that are ongoing. Please see the calendar for details. The students from UMass, the nursing students that I've been working with, will be coordinating a program on safety for seniors tomorrow at 11 o'clock, so please spread the word. Our police chief, our fire chief, the senior center director, and Triad will all be participating and presenting, and lunch will be provided afterwards. I just want to say they've done a really good job. Their goal was to increase Code Red signups by 10%, and they've exceeded that, so that's good. The next meeting of the COA is on the 4th of May, which is the annual meeting when officers will be elected. And then the Board of Assessors met yesterday at 4 o'clock. They're meeting with the Finance Committee tomorrow night. Bishop and Associates will be beginning inspections of at least 400 properties in town, so just want to let folks know that. There'll be lots of communication and publicity about that, so people are aware that they're going to be coming around to inspect properties. There's continued recruitment of a principal assessor. They're going to readdress that after they meet with the Finance Committee. In the meantime, Dave Zagorski continues in the interim role, and Janine Domina continues with increased hours to manage the work of the office. And their next meeting is on the 25th at 3 o'clock. And I just want to let folks know I will not be able to be here on Thursday night. I have another commitment. I'll be out of town.
Okay. All right, thanks. Yeah, Joy.
So Conservation Commission met on the 4th. I was unable to be there because I was at the CPA Housing Authority meeting, but there's nothing new to report there. And their next meeting is May 2nd. Housing Authority met also on May 4th with the CPC in regards to the article that will be on the warrant and their Housing Authority project on College Highway. And their next meeting is May 9th. Planning Board met April 6th, but there's nothing new to report there. The next meeting is April 20th. And Open Space won't be meeting this month until April 28th.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good, thanks. All right, and from my end, Cost Efficiencies Committee will be meeting April 20th at 3 o'clock by Zoom, continuing on some of our deliberations about cost savings and time and efficiency savings in particular. And then the Grant Committee hasn't met this week, but we've been involved working with the Greenway Committee, some members of the Greenway Committee, to put in actually an application for this grant called RAISE, which is a federal grant. And the minimum for a small town is $1 million. And so that's what we put in for. And it's basically for the design, planning, engineering, design, and permitting for the Greenway. And it's a federal grant. It's pretty heavy duty, where I'm not sure that we'll be as competitive as we hope, but we figured we may as well try our hat at it, and if nothing else, we'll learn something for the future. A lot of the grants that we've been applying for and have received have been either local or state grants mostly. So federal ones have a different level of weight behind them, shall we say. And then, as I mentioned, I think before, Randall's going to be working, especially starting off anyway, with Ty and Bond to work on the MVP action grant, and whenever they have some narrative that they would like the grant committee to look at, if they do, we will join in on that. But he's really taking the lead on that, but we will have an application for the 5th of May. That's when that one is due. And I think that's about it. I sat in on a couple of webinars this afternoon. Through the MMA, they have put out a list of, and PVPC, I guess, have put out a list of grant workshops about what grants are available in Massachusetts. So I sat through a couple hours of the one-stop grant program, which we had actually tried to get into last year, and they didn't find us very competitive. They've improved it a little bit, but it's still a kind of an onerous Massachusetts grant, except for you apply once, and if you don't make your first grant program, they actually give you feedback and they pass it around to others in the program. So there's like 12 different departments at the state that are involved in a variety of grants, and it's largely, it's infrastructure, some of it's housing, some of it's mass works, some of it's environmental related, et cetera. So it's meant to be a time saver and a sort of literally one stop. You put in your application and they float it around to the various agencies to see who might pick you up. So we'll take a look at that again. I'm not sure. We need to review the feedback they gave us last time and see if we have any better ideas on what we were talking about last time. But we had put in actually for some funds for feasibility for the public safety building, and they told us that that was not competitive. So I'll go back and look at the feedback again and see if there's anything that we can pull out of there that might be worth looking at. That one is open until the beginning of June, I believe. So we have a little bit of time on that, but not a lot. But I think that's it for grants at the moment. Anybody have any questions about things? Yeah.
Could I just mention two things? It's something separate from what you just said, so I don't know.
Grant related? Or, come on up.
Lucy Dalton, 10 Strong Road. I just have a question for Maureen. Am I allowed to ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
You're up there.
I didn't know if we were allowed to ask questions during, okay. The housing, the affordable housing where is that? Is that across from Cumbies?
A housing person, so I'll let you talk to her about that.
I didn't know because you had mentioned CPC.
CPC, but
Yep.
I think she's probably the best person to answer that.
So is
It's on College Highway.
that? Is it the one across from Park Place, across from Cumbies? Is it?
Across from the golf course.
The golf
course.
Yeah, it's down,
okay, that way.
towards
Okay.
Westfield.
Oh, okay, okay.
Not right across from the golf course, but in that vicinity.
Okay.
It's right near
Yeah,
the Lyman Conservation Area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll see this for sale. It's the only for sale sign down
I
there.
just asked. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, yes, Rini.
Yeah, that and the little metal gate kind of
Yeah.
identifies the property.
Yeah. I don't know the exact address. I apologize.
Yeah.
No. It's down on the way to
Okay, Rini?
Westfield.
I don't think you're aware of this, Francine, because this came up since the Board of Health meeting, but there is a vaccine clinic that's planned for Wednesday, the 27th of April. It's going to be in the library at the Norris School from 4 to 6 p.m. for people who are interested in or eligible to get COVID boosters.
The 27th, you said?
27th from 4 to 6 at the Norris Library. There was something else going on in the cafeteria, so we are in the library.
Okay, sounds great. Good.
And the other thing I just want to mention, that 5 of us attended that conference on Saturday at the Easthampton High School, and it was put on by MMA, and it was, we learned a lot about Arpa money and also about police reform and affordable housing, and I just want to mention that. I didn't know if anybody wanted to say anything specific, but I felt like I learned a lot about the police reform bill.
Yeah.
I know that Police Chief Illingsworth has been talking about it and how much it's going to impact part-time officers, but now I know why. It's just, it's going to be devastating, not just for our town, but every town, every small town.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the better conferences that I've been to,
Yeah.
that they've put on.
Yeah.
Very informative.
Yep.
Very timely.
Yeah, and especially too with the ARPA monies, I think we found out lots of sort of tools of the trade about how to go ahead and organize things, and the biggest comment I think that came out of it was document. I mean, just be sure that you document everything you're doing on this, and we got some great ideas from a person who's the community development administrator at Holyoke, gave us some great ideas. So we'll be trying to model some of those as we go along with the ARPA review. Anything else from housing? Joan, Joy, anything in particular? No?
Just to add to the fact that the first 2 steps that we've taken on, pursuing granting the ARPA money, the fact that we have, that Chris developed that survey and got community input was one of their strong recommendations, so you get feedback from your constituents. And the other thing was the application process for that, which we're currently in, and really took charge of that. So
Yep.
So
Yeah,
we're
we've
moving
got-
in the right direction.
We've got a couple things that we've done without even knowing that we were doing something like we were supposed to, but yeah.
There are two bills right now in front of the legislature, and one of them is an act relative to the creation of the Massachusetts Board of Public Safety Building Authority, and the other one has to do with the creation of a board to address municipal buildings. This is really important to our town, and so it's important that we have some support for that. It's going to be similar to the school building authority, where there's a board specifically that looks at allocating funds for school buildings, and it's going to be similar for municipal buildings possibly, and also public safety buildings, which we need desperately.
Exactly. So, okay, very good. Anything else?
I was just going to say that at the affordable housing, I learned there were so many different projects that other towns are working on, but also there was a similar sense of we're kind of hands tied, small town, hands tied situation. I just want to put, I think the greatest message that I got from the entire conference, and that I want the citizens of Southampton to know, is to call our legislative representatives. And if there are issues that they see in town that are affecting small town, talk to our representatives, because they're the ones with their voices in Boston for us who can make a difference. Because it's a lot of legislation coming from Boston that really affects and trickles its way down and affects Western Mass in a very different way. And we need to be louder with our representatives.
Right. I think it might be good too, Rini mentioned the two bills. I think it would be good if we could just get some information out, on our website about those bills, and that might, spur citizens to write into their legislators. Unfortunately, at the meeting, we didn't have either our senator or our rep there. Other areas of Western Mass were represented, but we didn't have our people there, unfortunately. But didn't mean that we didn't learn something. So, all right, moving on. Old business. Let's see if we can go through this. There's not maybe lots and lots, but go ahead, Ed. I'll let you take over.
All right, COVID-19 update. The numbers are ticking up slightly, so we'll keep an eye on those as we head into the warmer weather. Hopefully, as the weather gets warmer and more things are done outside, that they will level off and drop back down again. The CARES Act update. I have been able to contact the state as we were having those networking errors, and I believe I have now captured all of our CARES Act funds expenses for the approximately 20 months and reported on those. East Street Bridge update. They were working on the riprap and then the fill, which goes over the riprap in the last couple weeks. That did get slowed down a little bit because of the heavy rains over the last week, so they have to be careful as they put, shall we say, the sand and soil to fill on top of that riprap, because when I was down there, I think it was on Friday, looking at it, the, shall we say, the erosion control fence that protects the manhand from the land in the riprap area and the bridge abutments. We had so much rain that actually the water was over those erosion control. The manhand was actually in a state of actually over its flood level at that point, so it did slow it down a little bit. The rapid test kit updates, I'll let Rini update the board on that, because she made a great effort in the last week to 10 days to get some of those remaining kits that we had distributed out. And then quickly the voice over IP update. I am working with the vendor, which is TPX, on the specifics of actually programming the system for the phones which were ordered, so that they will actually do that before they are installed.
Okay.
So I just went to most of the businesses in town and offered test kits for the employees because some of the test kits that we ordered expire in May, and the next shipment, I think, expire April, May, June, and I think in July. So we had a good number of them and distributed about 500 test kits, and everybody was incredibly grateful for that. And then Jerry also helped with my students to distribute them to more to the library, more to the senior center, and to the 4 group homes that are in town. So there is still plenty left. I think that Jerry was going to bring some to the transfer station. She was going to bring some to the town meeting. So if anybody has a need for them, please, especially with things upticking a little bit and people traveling a little bit more, please contact the Board of Health.
Right. Okay. Very good. Thank you for that. That's a good effort to get them out in the public where they belong, and hopefully people will use them if they need to. All right, moving on to appointments and resignations.
Could I just ask that we come back to that, because I know that 2 people were planning to show up tonight, and I guess because of the Easthampton media presentation that got canceled, I think that they were thinking it was going to be around 7.
Oh.
So I just wonder if you wouldn't mind if we just table that and come back to it?
Okay. Anybody?
I was told that 2 people were coming.
Okay.
Right.
Anybody have any objection? We'll move on to new business?
No.
All right. We'll do that and come back around to the appointments then?
And just one note
Yep.
on that. One of the individuals on here, Andrew LaFosse, just to let you know, actually grew up here in Southampton, still has family here in Southampton, but does not live in Southampton. And I will call your attention, and this is where some of the wording gets
Once again.
tricky in the charge, whether we say registered voter, town resident, or leave it open, or whatever, is the current wording in the charge is 5 additional voting members shall be town residents and appointed by the select board. So I'll just ask, since that's going to come up again later in the evening. I actually hate to lose Mr. LaFosse, background and what he would bring to the table on this. So I will ask if the select board might think about amending that charge to whether it's, 1 or 2 people, maybe non-town residents, or if you just want to change it to all 5 of them.
Yeah. So we have a total of 7 that we're supposed to have, right? And then we have 2 already on, with Janet Kane and Rini as our
Correct.
representative.
And Ed?
Yes,
He's
as a member of the
ex
select.
officio.
Right,
I'm a non-voting ex officio, but we do have 2
And then
voting
Joan,
members.
too, is also ex officio.
right, non-voting as well. Yeah, okay, yeah. Yes, John?
So I just think it'd probably be better to get this out of the way now before anybody shows up that's going to be on the list, so we don't have to have the discussion in front of them. I would suggest we just amend it by inserting the paragraph that we used in the public safety complex, where nothing in this charge shall prohibit us from appointing the most qualified person.
And I thought we had tried to copy almost that same language, and I guess we didn't when we put the final
I
out.
also think we modified the public safety one at the end. That was the paragraph that went in.
Okay.
Just to allow us,
Yeah,
in
to have
case something
that
came up.
breadth.
Yeah, I think that last amendment was either made at the same time this one was, or
Yeah.
it might have actually gotten approved after.
Yeah, we might not have.
So that wasn't included in here.
We've got to, I think as we do these charges, sometimes we got to be sure that we're not cutting ourselves off in terms of the pool of people that are out there, so.
And I just want to mention, there are other town committees that have non-residents on them just simply because of the expertise that they bring and the committee needs. So this would put that in that category, given the fact that this man is an architect.
Yeah, okay. Well, how about, could we have a motion then to amend the charge? I
So-
think that's what we need to do.
So moved to add the paragraph that nothing in the charge shall prohibit the select board from acting upon its best judgment to fill the seats.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I don't think it's descriptive enough. I think we have to perhaps remove if the language says
Town
residents.
residents.
Right. I think,
Well, I don't have the public safety one in front of, I guess I could look it up to see what the wording was we used.
hang on, let me see if I have it handy.
You might almost have to remove the reference to town, or you could say,
We're going to do what we want?
No, but you could allow whatever, up to, I don't know, up to 2 positions could be non-resident, for example, or something like
Again,
that.
depending upon their expertise.
Depending, yeah, no, I mean, obviously, we want people,
not
I mean, the only reason that
Right.
one would want them is because they have specific expertise to bring to us that we may not have here in terms of people that have applied. So we might have to just modify that a little bit from,
Yeah, I mean,
do you have the chart in front of you offhand?
I don't.
well, I'm actually thinking of going another route and just changing the 5 additional voting members shall be town residents and appointed by the select board. You could say there shall be 5 additional voting members. 3 or 4 shall be town residents, and the remainder of 1 or 2 may be non-town residents and shall be appointed by the select board, and do it that way.
I just say we don't specify either way.
Yeah.
You know, we're recruiting members that meet certain qualifications.
I mean, I think John's language is
Right.
fine, but I think it means that we would have to take out the reference to
Yeah, I agree.
specific.
Just strike the section after you say there'll be 5 voting members, period.
Just take out town residents
Yeah.
and add John's new language.
And I just want to be clear that this is for the actual feasibility committee. This is about hiring a committee to do a study. I just think we always have to look at 2 things. One is, are there other members that are interested in being on the committee that might be town residents? And the other thing is, when we're spending taxpayers' dollars and someone's not paying taxes, that's the other consideration. I don't think it applies for a feasibility committee, but I think those are the things to think about for similar committees.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion on the table here, but we haven't voted yet. So do we amend the motion a little bit?
I'll restate the
Okay,
motion to
go ahead.
drop the link to appoint 5 voting members, period.
Appointed by the
Eliminate the rest of the language that's in there, and the select board to use its best judgment in making those appointments.
Actually, but are we not 7 total voting?
I'll second it.
Hang on,
But this is for the 5,
for the 5 appointments, okay,
for the additional 5, because
Okay.
2 are set forth
okay.
as the COA board chair and a member of the select board.
Okay. So we would not put in that other language that you were referring to, or you want that as well?
No, I'm fine,
No.
if everyone else is.
Okay, I think we have that, and we have a second. Any further discussion? All right, could we have a vote then? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So, sorry, we'll go back and amend that charge then. At least we'll have it hopefully correct as we do these committees. All right, so we'll come back around if people show up to attend this. Let's move on to new business, amendments to the PPB rules and regulations.
I believe this is
Yes.
just the clarification on that one section.
It's the clarification on the sentence that
Right.
Rini had asked about, and,
Yes.
you know, I had reached out to legal. You do have
This is about disability, is that?
yeah, correct, that opinion that that one sentence should be stricken from the existing language, in addition to the other 3 items or 4 items that the select board, the PPB had the hearing on, and the select board was amendable to, other than finding that one sentence in there.
So I'll move that we accept all the recommendations that came through the PPPB board in addition to the changes suggested by town council in that one section.
Okay. Could I have a second, please?
I think it needs to be more descriptive. I think we have to be clear that it says, we are going to remove this sentence.
I'll withdraw the motion, wait for somebody else to
Sure,
make it.
I'll find it and I'll read it to you.
That was the actual language from the town council, though.
Yeah, but I just think for the purposes of anybody in the minutes or anybody in the public, it doesn't say anything
Okay.
about what was
Which
decided
sentence?
by just referring to,
Okay. If we could find that actual language in. I believe it was, we talked about it last time.
It's right here.
Okay,
Was
I got it.
Use of sick leave, was it?
Yep. The existing language, 13-5, says use of sick leave. Sick leave shall be granted to an employee only when the employee is incapacitated from the performance of duties by personal sickness, injury, or quarantine by public health authorities. Injury, illness, or disability self-imposed or resulting from the use of alcohol or drugs may not be considered proper claim for leave under this section, see 13-7. So what Town Council is recommending is striking the sentence, injury, illness, or disability self-imposed or resulting from the use of alcohol or drugs may not be considered proper claim for leave under this section, see 13-7.
Okay, so only the first sentence actually stays then?
Only that, yes, only that one sentence.
Okay. And it's just that change on 13.5?
So they also want to strike C 13-7? Or just, we're leaving 13-7 in there, correct?
Hang on, let me see if she highlighted that in yellow.
That's required.
It's hard to tell once it goes to grayscale.
I think we're keeping 13-7, but we're removing the reference to it.
Reference to it, I thought, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, we're removing what is in the parentheses, C's 13-7. That is part of that sentence.
Right, but we're keeping 13.
As yellow highlight.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion to strike that sentence and accept the PQB recommendations on the rest of it.
Okay. So accepting essentially PQB and the legal counsel's recommendations, right?
Yeah, and the ones that Ed just read.
Right, okay, all right. Could I have a second then?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Is that clear to everybody? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
I will incorporate those changes and bring it back for your signature.
Okay,
And for the committee's information, in the email that came from the town council, she alluded to other changes that she recommended in 16 that she doesn't believe were acted upon. And the town administrator is trying to identify those things and forward them to PPB to look at again.
Correct.
yeah.
So with our signing off on these and PQB already looking at them, are they all good to go? Or do they have to be approved by any other? Okay.
That's it. I just have to go into that original document and make those changes.
Changes?
Yeah,
And then will the employees get notification about these?
yes.
All right, sounds good. All right, next topic. ARPA funds utilization discussion. I think this is back on a little bit of our discussion from before about whether we do lost revenue percentages thereof or whatever. I don't know if after our meeting.
You skipped one.
What did I skip? Sorry.
The collective bargaining
Yeah,
agreement.
highway union law.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
MOU.
Sorry. I was looking at the wrong one. I apologize. Go back to Highway Union Local 98, the MOU for a successor CBA approval and signature. Okay. Ed, would you like to run through that a little bit?
Yeah, let me just find that. Here, please. Okay, so as the Select Board had previously voted in executive session to offer this, and it's been accepted by the union, memorandum of understanding between the town of Southampton and Local 98 of the International Union of Operating Engineers. The adjustment to wages, hours, and conditions of employment that are set forth in this memorandum have been discussed by and between the staff representatives of the town of Southampton, hereinafter called Town, and the representatives of Local 98 of the International Union of Operating Engineers, hereinafter called Highway Workers Union, and shall apply to all non-salaried, non-administrative employees in the Highway Department. The adjustment to wages, hours, and conditions of employment that are set forth in this memorandum have been discussed in good faith and agreed upon between the staff representatives of the town and the Highway Workers Union. The Highway Workers Union agrees that its members have accepted and ratified all of the adjustments set forth herein, and the staff representatives of the town agree to recommend acceptance and adoption by article to town meeting to the effect that all financial funding adjustments as set forth herein be adopted adopted in full by the town meeting in the manner and procedures prescribed by law. The adjustments of salaries and fringe benefits listed herein are acceptable to both parties as attested to by the duly designated representatives who are signatories hereto. The town and the Highway Workers Union agree to the following, which shall replace any existing language in mentioned articles in the current contract. Article 16, wages, replace language in the first section with the following. The following across-the-board increase will be granted to direct hourly wage rate, exclusive of any stipend, of employees who are actively working in the bargaining unit when the contract is ratified by both parties and approved for funding. Insert new language, wages year 1 of contract, add and drop a step. Year 3 of the contract, add and drop a step. Year 1 of the contract, add row for new position on table 1, senior foreman with CDL and hoisting and 2 or more additional licenses. This row will be carried through to years 2 and 3 as well. In year 2 of the contract, there shall be 25 cents added to the hourly wage of the senior foreman with CDL and hoisting and 2 or more additional licenses in addition to the COLA. No double steps, i.e. if someone is currently on step 2 in the current year of the contract and a step is dropped and added in the year of the contract, they will also be on step 2 in that year of the contract where the step is dropped and added. COLA year 1, 2%, year 2, 2.5%, year 3, 2%. July 1st shall be used for step increases if applicable. Retroactivity from July 1st, 2021 shall be paid to only those members who are currently employed by the Highway Department as of the date of ratification of the contract. Article 15, employment policies and practices. Amend language to night shift differential to increase from 50 cents per hour to 75 cents per hour, and for hours to be extended from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., and minimum call-in increased from 3 hours to 4 hours. Article 15, employment policies and practices. That would incorporate those changes. Okay. Article 15, employment policies and practice. Safety, amend language for boot allowance. Change the boot allowance from $150 to $200 per year shall be allowed per employee per fiscal year for approved safety boots, and add with required proof of purchase. Article 19, leaves of absence, Section G, long-term disability. Amend language to long-term disability clause to allow the town to use a third-party insurance if it so chooses for the benefit, as long as the percentage and length of the employee benefit stays the same. Article 20, holidays. Amend language to add Juneteenth to the list of holidays, making 12 holidays on the list. Article 30, training fund, remove that article in its entirety. Add new Article 31, direct deposit. Add language for new article requiring employees to use direct deposit of pay. Add new Article 22, successor negotiations. And I think it's actually supposed to be 32. Add language that negotiations for successor contracts shall begin at least 6 months in advance to the expiration of the contract. Change all references in contract from Board of Selectmen to Select Board. And that is all the changes contained in the Memorandum of Understanding. And the Board for Local 98 did sign this on their part at 5 p.m. this evening.
And this would be, contract is in effect from July 1st,
Correct.
2021?
July 1st, 2020.
June 30th, 2024?
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. So we'll have that signed. All right. Yes.
I just want to say it's great to have this first contract signed with the Highway Department. There's 2 more to go, and just want to say thank you to the Highway Department. It's been a long, cold winter, and we appreciate all they do.
Absolutely. All right. Do we need to do any further voting on this, or is this, we just need to sign it when you have it?
I would vote it in open session.
Okay.
And then,
All right. All right.
sign it later on this evening.
All right. Could I have a motion to accept the MOU between the town and Local 98 of the International Union of Operating Engineers?
So move.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you very much.
I would just make a point of, know, if we actually published our packets, we wouldn't have to sit here and spend 6 minutes reading to the public. But
Once we get our new website
Once we
going,
get
we
the new
will.
website, we'll be able to do that.
Yep.
That's
There's
been
too much
brought up
stuff up there now
before.
that nobody would find it, so we need to work toward that, yes. Okay, back on the ARPA funds utilization discussion. I don't know if you want to combine that together with talking about the applications and just, we could move it a little bit later down on the agenda if you'd like, and talk about some of the other issues. We have one person here.
One person here.
And we have Margaret here for capital request too. Any thoughts
I think
about,
there was somebody else who was planning
was there
on,
another person coming in? Okay,
that's what I was told.
all right. Well, do we want to talk
Yes,
about
there is supposed to be one other person.
the ARPA funds utilization discussion then, since I'm not hearing a,
Yeah, I think we can just do it all together.
okay?
I mean, I don't know what other
Until we
people
get
think.
down to the application part, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm fine with just
It's only
holding
a little
that
bit
together.
further down.
We'll put the ARPAs together.
Okay.
The next thing in our packet was a letter from Senator Warren's staff requesting input for congressionally directed spending, and they were asking for various input. She's accepting requests for the FY23 Senate appropriations process, and we need to be able to give any spending requests online through her special portal by April 22nd at 6 p.m. So I thought we would bring it up tonight since we won't have another chance perhaps before that deadline to discuss anything. If it's something on people's mind, I'm sure infrastructure is one, but go ahead, Rini.
Greenway. Municipal Light District.
No?
East Street. And Public Safety Building, Senior Center Building.
Okay,
Take your pick. That's my vote.
okay.
I
Yep.
I was
Francine?
also thinking maybe we should chime in for the section of the east-west railway
Yep.
that goes through Southampton, be added to that, just
Yeah,
advocate for that project.
That's the Greenway, that's the Greenway. Yeah, that's what you mentioned,
All right.
yes, exactly, yep. Right, yes, indeed. Okay. All right, so I hear Greenway, MLP, Public Safety Building, Senior Center, and East Street. Right?
You said Municipal Light District, right?
Yeah, MLP,
okay,
yeah, Municipal Light District, yes.
Yep, those are the ones that, I mean, those are the ones that we got a lot of feedback on from residents.
Right. Okay, so we'd have to just see what kind of language she wants to have here, other than just the title of something, how much narrative she wants to go with it. You can talk to her aide perhaps and figure that out. Okay? Any others to suggest? Those sound like all the top priorities. We can certainly put them out at her. And it's recommended that we not only do this for Senator Warren, but also send the same request to Senator Markey. So I think that would be the best way to at least get it to their attention anyway, through their staff people. Okay?
Great.
So I can work with Ed on working that. Yes. Yeah, so priorities, Greenway, Municipal Light District, which would be helping us to create the broadband notion for town. Public Safety Building, Senior Center Building, and East Street. Right? Okay.
I mean, I could keep going, municipal buildings.
Yeah, there's a few other things we could do too, probably, but that 5 sounds like a good round number, right? At least she'll hear from us. That's the main thing, I think. At least they reached out to ask us for some input, which is always encouraging. So, okay, so I see 2 people in the audience. Are these 2 people that you were hoping to have here?
That's it, yeah.
Good. 2 people that we were hoping to have in presence as we go back to the appointments. So, Rini, since this is sort of your committee, why don't you lead that off?
Okay, so let me just get to the other.
So we have,
So this is, there's been a group of people that have been loosely working together to discuss the inheritance of Red Parsons of $2.5 million towards a senior center. And so the next step is to form a senior center feasibility committee. And so the call went out for people whose background are in real estate and construction and engineering and so forth. And so we have a charge for the committee, and we put a call out, and people have stepped up, which I'm really grateful for. So we have have Ron Lauren, who is asking, he's our building inspector, and he is applying to be on the committee. We don't have terms on here, Ed, is that, they're all-
May 17th, 2023.
They're all
the same,
Yes.
same term, yeah, May 17th.
Yeah.
so Ron Lauren, ad hoc member, term to expire May 17, 2023. Darcy Gasparini, ad hoc senior center, feasibility committee, term to expire, same. They're all ad hoc, and they're all expiring May 17th. We have Andrew LaFosse and Audrey Pierce. And I believe we have 2 people here. So Darcy, I think you're here first. You just want to go up and introduce yourself and say what your interest is on the
And we will
committee?
say that each of the candidates put forth not only their application, but a cover letter.
Yep.
But instead of reading those out, at least for the 2 that are here, we may read out the other 2 that are not here.
Okay.
But for the 2 that are here, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Sure. Darcy Gasparini, 30 Montgomery Road in Southampton. I was a friend of David Red Parsons, so that's a big push for me to be on the committee. I'm a realtor with Taylor Real Estate. I've been in real estate for 18 years. I'm also a business owner in town for 30 years, the hair station on College Highway. So I feel like I can add a lot to the committee. I was on the previous group that was trying to put this forward.
Okay.
So.
Great. Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
No,
Yeah, thank you
Thanks
very
for stepping up. No, that's fine. Great. All right. Okay, Audrey.
I'm Audrey Pierce, 143 Brickyard Road. I have been engineering for the last 30 years at Combustion Engineering, which is now GE, doing plant engineering. Before that, I designed subdivisions. I worked for an environmental company. So that was probably late 80s, early 90s, so it's a long time ago. But pretty much engineering is my background. Live in town and love to see people being active. Don't want to ever have that stop. So I think being part of this committee is a good way to help ensure that for the town.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And if there's anything you want to know, just ask. Just ask. Dressed this way because I came from spinning.
That's okay. No, great. No, good. All right, very good. So,
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, very much.
I'll make a
Yes.
motion to appoint Darcy, and I already have a motion. Was it seconded?
Yes.
For all of them?
I wanted to read the other 2 letters, though.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to, we don't need to do another motion, right? Just-
No.
Just read the letters? Okay.
Yeah. So, I'll read from Ron Lauren, just since he's not here tonight. Most of us know Ron, but please accept this letter as a request to be considered for appointment to the Town Senior Center Search Committee. I feel that my experience as a building commissioner, along with 30-plus years of construction experience, will add additional benefits to the committee and the process of site assessment and plan review. I also believe that my experience will be helpful in the selection of engineers or architects along with construction professionals. My construction experience is both residential along with commercial, and I hold a Massachusetts unrestricted construction supervisor's license along with a certified building official certification. In addition to running my own construction company, I've worked as a building inspector for the city of Westfield along with Russell and Blandford. Most recently, I'm employed for the town of Southampton as their building commissioner. In addition to my construction experience, I've served on numerous voluntary boards to include ZBA and the Board of Health, along with the Housing Authority and the Board of Assessors. Thank you for your consideration. Very good. Would somebody like to read Andrew LaFosse? Sure. Or Francine, would you like to?
Sure, yeah. Dear voting members,
Could you speak up a little bit, though?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Dear voting members, thank you for your time in reviewing my application. My name is Andrew LaFosse, and I grew up in Southampton up until the age of 18. I eventually made my way from the friendly confines of Hampshire Regional to Boston to pursue a career in architecture. Now I am a registered architect in Massachusetts and in Connecticut. It has always been a dream of mine to be able to give back to the community that had fostered my growth and development and a place the rest of my family still calls home. I believe that serving on the Senior Center Building Feasibility Committee would provide a great opportunity to help other committee members with the same passion and interests, as well as providing unique insight. I have an extensive work history working in the architectural field on residential, multi-use, healthcare, and sports building topologies. I am currently an architect and existing building supervisor for Bond Brothers, a large general contractor in Medford, Massachusetts. Additionally, I have helped conduct feasibility studies for projects of similar scale up to university campus master planning. Aside from my professional qualifications, I am personally motivated by this opportunity as well. As someone who has aging family members in Southampton and the surrounding towns, I think it is a great opportunity to help the town members thanks to the generosity of Mr. Parsons. Again, thank you for your time in reviewing my application, and I humbly hope that I will be able to help contribute wherever possible. Sincerely, Andrew LaFosse.
Okay. All right, so we have 4 applicants before us. Could I have a motion?
I think I already did it as a motion.
Do you have a motion? Did we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
All right, we had a motion to appoint all 4 members. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
So be it. Thank you very much, and thank you especially for coming. I hope it was a painless process, but it's always nice to at least be able to meet people who do step up. So we really thank you for not only stepping up, but also coming to the meeting. So thanks very much for that. And hopefully the committee will get off to a good start. So very good. That's all you needed to do tonight.
And Lucy, there is a, they have to be sworn in, right?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And there is a meeting Thursday at 12:30, so just if that can happen sooner rather than later, that'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah.
With her.
It's on Zoom.
Yeah. Okay.
Pretty fast. That would be helpful since they're here, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lucy.
Thanks. Thank you. Okay. Good. There you go.
Yes. Judy will have them to you first thing tomorrow.
All right. Very good. Okay, now let's pick up where we left off here. If I find my right place. Close out of FY21 financial?
Yes, we are moving forward with that and making good progress. Looks like Jen finished up her work with them today. Bradley and I have some transfers still to do, which I will work with him on finishing up tomorrow and Thursday. So I anticipate that Lisa will be able to start doing the rest of the work on the Schedule A and everything else that's needed next week and get it to DLS.
And you were going to check with DLS to see if there was a problem with it being, are we all fine in terms of the deadline?
Yes, I had submitted a request on our behalf, and Deb Wagner has accepted
Okay, good.
and approved that request.
So we should have our certification of free cash back by when, do we think? I mean, how can we work on finance and revenues?
We should have it by the end of the month. We'll only be using the free cash for the capital projects.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, my phone is,
Okay. All right, any questions on that? Comments?
so are you saying that at the town meeting we'll not have an article to certify free cash?
We'll have the certification by the town meeting, correct?
By the town meeting?
Yes.
Okay. So we can have articles that utilize those funds as well? Okay.
All right. All right.
Just as a reminder to
Go ahead.
myself, what's the drop dead date, right? Because it's not town meeting day,
No.
right?
Well, the true
Is it
drop
10
dead date is
days?
my memory for having it signed for posting is the 25th,
25th
but
of
we don't want to
April.
go that late, so I will say Friday, the 22nd. Is that correct? That's Friday, right?
Friday is the 22nd.
Next.
We're meeting on the 14th, and then we're meeting again, I think, on the, Did we have a possible meeting on the 19th, did we?
Yes,
19th as well? Yeah. Our regular meeting is on the 26th, but we're going to be meeting in between on that.
So today's the 12th.
Right.
Yes.
And if, did you say Lisa? If the outside vendor gets it done and submitted by this Friday, that's the 15th. So we need the DLS to receive it by the 18th and act upon it and get it back to us within 4 days during the school vacation week. Okay.
Okay. That's what we're going to aim for, I guess.
It's,
Hopefully.
right?
Yeah,
You have to
yeah.
have certification in order to get the article going.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Your world is the school vacation,
Yeah.
week, but that's not the rest of it.
That doesn't mean that everybody else is
I
on.
guarantee you call DLS, yeah, knowing who's in there, Zachariah and those guys.
You think
Just
they'll-
saying.
They'll be in
You know, our lack of planning that got to this level and the delays that caused this, I don't see the state bending over backwards and doing emergency things to make this happen for us. So while I certainly hope that the certification comes in, I'm not holding my breath for it.
Yeah. I hear you. Okay. Well,
Well, the
that's,
sooner you and
yep.
Bradley do what you got to do, the better.
Okay. Moving on, shall we move to capital requests before we do the
Yeah,
budget
I think
requests?
that's a nice
Since Margaret's
idea.
here, and then she doesn't have to spend her entire evening here. We know you're all excited about hanging in here, but, just in case you have something else to do, so.
Margaret Larson, 9 David. I'm the acting chair of the Capital Committee. And so you hopefully all have seen the correspondence I sent for you and Finance. So I mostly just wanted to know if there are any questions, because this is a very different approach that we're taking this year.
Actually, why don't you go through what you
Yeah,
recommended?
so
Because
that's
the
what-
public does not know,
Yeah,
so why don't you go through that?
Right, so I got on Capital, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, and it had been non-existent for a while, so we kind of brought it back to life, breathed some life into it. And originally, we wanted to have a certain reserve, like even 10%, in case something popped up during the year. And I think we did that the first year. And then I think we just got into a habit of using every dime because it seemed like the needs were so great. And we had no other way to pay for some of these requests. And we have some aging buildings, we have aging infrastructure, we have aging vehicles. And so one year after another, we just started draining it. And that's why there's very little in the account. And then the next year, more money would come in and we would drain it. So this year, we discussed it and decided that we wanted to adopt a better practice of retaining half of whatever comes in every year for a period of 5 years, so that we have a nice, principal in there that could then earn some dividends and interest, and then eventually it would be nice if we could get to a point where we were using interest and dividends and maybe a portion, agreed upon portion of our principal every year in addition to whatever was certified in order to pay for the requests that came in. So if the select board is amenable to that, then we would recommend going down our list based on the priorities that we established using the rating sheet.
Yeah, you actually had a rating sheet that you've used, which is great to
Yes,
see
we
that
have
as
in the
well.
past. Now, I will say that I think it's difficult to find a great rating sheet for this particular process. So I'll give you an example. So it could be something that is mandatory because there's a safety issue. And so it ranks very high in some areas, but if its useful life is, say, 10 years because we know it needs to be replaced, or that's just kind of the useful life of it, it gets downgraded. And so some things get ranked over another even though they seem to be mandatory or have safety concerns. So I think we could use some more work on this, but it's pretty similar to what other municipalities use.
It's very similar to basically the template that DLS puts out for capital planning.
Yep.
Yes.
So you have a priority ranking, and you have expected useful life, effect on operating and maintenance costs, and effect on the town revenue.
Right.
Basically, and availability of other grant monies, possibly.
Yes, and we do ask the departments to establish their priorities. So when you see, for example, the long list of Norris requests, we asked for those priorities. So we ranked those higher based on the order in which we were given those priorities.
Can I ask a question? It must have been a very painful process to do this, because I'm looking at $780,000 worth of request and a recommendation from capital to only spend $75,000. So first of all, I just want to acknowledge that, because it couldn't have been an easy discussion. I appreciate all the work you did to do all the scoring. I just have a couple questions. You know, we have 7,000 something sitting in the bank right now that the town had already approved on the water line replacement for the cemetery. We had a presentation about that. It would be very difficult not to just get that done once and for all, because that's been sitting on, you know, the list for a long time. It may have not have come up as, you know, ahead of some of these other highway department things, but the highway department requested $263,000, $228,000. So I just wanted to mention that. And then maybe you or John could, it seems to me that security cameras for the school would normally be high priority. Do they already have some?
They do.
They do?
Yes,
Okay.
this is an addition. So that was actually lower on their priority list.
There must be a reason, yeah.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And we know, given our budget, that the street sweeper and the wheel loader are something that would have to be handled outside.
Right.
Outside of
capital?
Of capital.
Yeah.
It just would
A
have
debt
to
or
be.
something, yeah.
So if you eliminate those two or provide another funding source for them, then there would be enough to cover the cemetery, which
Yeah, it comes
we
to
thought was important.
$76,500.
If you went down the top three,
Yes.
excluding those
Yeah.
couple.
And I think,
$76,500.
you know, probably enough for the roof repair for Norris, I mean, close to it.
Okay.
I think one of the way it was explained at the committee, because it was my first time going through it, is that even though we clearly knew starting we didn't have the money for it, it was to rank as the priority, so that when the list got here and we saw that there wasn't enough money,
Right.
we could see where the department heads and capital thought our priority should be if we were going to seek debt overrides,
Right.
or debt exclusions.
Correct. Yep. Understood.
And if I just back up to the recommendation, I want to emphasize that under the recommendation, that the committee's asking for the adoption of the prudent person rule. It's prudent person rule. It's very specific under Mass General Law. There are two ways that funds can be invested, and it's at the discretion of the treasurer, unless direction is given by an oversight body, such as this. It can be legal list, which is where we currently are, and if you look at the revenue reports, you'll see that based on our revenue reports, we have zero income coming off of our investments. But then the prudent person is the step above that that the treasurer could also act upon. So here, we're giving specific direction. If it's adopted, prudent person needs to be followed.
And
not
that would
legal
allow the
list.
treasurer to invest in other areas from what we currently do that would probably bring in more interest, is that?
Yeah, prudent person is exactly what it means. Would a prudent person do this same thing? Yes or no? They're not going to take 100% of the money
Right.
and put it in Bitcoin, right? Because a prudent
Right.
person wouldn't do it.
Right.
Can I ask a couple of questions about, and I read all the requests, because there's paperwork that goes with all of these, but if I could just ask, mostly for the public, because the Norris School roof repair has been a very, very long-standing issue, and I was just wondering if you could speak to exactly what's requested here, and is it a repair, because we know that there were a lot of problems with the roof when the building was renovated, and it took us a long time to pay on that. So the $7,400 is going to do what?
There's some additional leaks above the library. So
it's fixing them.
This is like where the...
It's in the dome
If I
part.
remember right, it's where the flange comes over, and it's the repointing and filling in of the masonry between that to stop. So we did the roof.
Right.
And now it's like the what do they call it, point and...
Right, because there's some, it's not deflecting the water, I guess
Okay.
is the way to
And what about the masonry? Because we've also the town has funded a number of masonry projects for the school.
And that continues to be an issue, so they're just finding more problems where the masonry is crumbling. And
that one, for the folks listening at home that can't see the pictures depict the overhead of an entryway that is in the process of collapsing inward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that picture.
Well, and some of the masonry repairs, though, so this is not masonry repairs for the sidewalk, because didn't we
That
approve
was
that?
the sidewalk repair.
That was at the last
Not
town meeting, was it
masonry,
not, or
just plain
whatever?
old sidewalk
sometime?
repair, and yes, we funded that.
Okay, because I was thinking I'd seen
Over
something that
2
had not
years,
been
yes.
spent yet on our expense report, so that was going to be my question on
You're
that.
correct. And last year, they had requested 2 separate articles, which for masonry repair around the school, that were combined into one article for the town meeting. When they went out to get the bids for those, they found out that they were much more expensive than what they had originally estimated, so they couldn't move forward with that. My understanding, because I was talking with Denise a few weeks back, is they were looking to utilize the funds that had been approved to make some of the masonry repairs. And I don't know where they stand with that now.
And they needed to pay for an engineering study as well, because there was some additional work that needed to be done.
Yeah, that would be very helpful for that type of work.
Yeah, I guess I thought I guess I had a question on the roofing issue. I wasn't understanding if that was repointing areas. I thought that was more actual real roof repair, but it's
Yeah,
Well,
not.
there is
failing
some
of
roof
the roof.
repair.
There is, okay.
So it's a combination. They're having just a combination of problems right around the general area, which is at the entrance, which is where the library is.
Okay. There was something mentioned about the dome area. I thought I read somewhere in here, which I can't find the right page now.
Is that
So-
but is that the bell outside that?
Is that the
No, that's not the bell tower.
round area? No? Somewhere I read that.
Yeah, there are pictures right here that
Right.
show the bell above the entrance.
Right. So many pieces of paper, huh? Can't find it. By Supreme Roofing. So, let's see. So that was the 7,400 or something? Too many pieces of paper.
We were given about 10 requests from Norris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's,
It's pretty typical. In an aging
typical of the town
building.
hall, typical of this building, the fire station.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
don't invest in the infrastructure, it's just going to destroy itself.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think,
The failing roof coating on the base of the, I can't read what that word is. Roof is failing, is allowing water to infiltrate the building.
okay.
So it's got to be the membrane or where that connection.
So I'm wondering if there is, yeah, I guess I hadn't focused on that, but normally you'd have if you're doing the roofing, you're going to have a membrane laid down, right? And then you're going to do something with if there's flashings to be done and all that detail has got to be in their quote, I assume. Okay, got it.
I just had another question. Are you all set with the school, though?
Yeah, go ahead.
About the fire department request, and I just have a question, maybe Ed, you know this. So what is requested is a brush fire and rescue vehicle with a trailer, because I think they had to borrow from maybe West Springfield.
Correct.
And with the amount of woods in town, it can affect as much of an hour of response time. Does this have anything to do with the equipment that he received in a grant?
Yes.
And didn't get the rest of it?
This
So
is the rest of it.
This is the rest of it, and it's partially paid for through
burn permit.
permit, and then partially
Yeah.
the request from
So
capital.
the dollar amount's 35,000, 18 requesting bond capital, 17 something for burn permits,
Right.
and then he got some other piece of equipment, but it won't work without this.
Right, they got the skid
Yeah.
last year.
Yep.
So they got the skid, but they didn't actually get the ATV.
They didn't get
A
the
vehicle
trailer.
They didn't get the
Right.
gator or the ATV
Well, they
or the
applied
gator.
for a grant to it, but it wasn't awarded, so that's
Right.
kind of.
So they got the skid to get into the woods, but they didn't get the ATV itself, and they didn't have an enclosed trailer of some sort. Is that right?
Right.
I mean, at one point, John came to us, and I think he said that he was going to make some sort of a trailer out of his old pickup or something or other. I'm forgetting what he told us at some point in time.
Well, no, they were going to take the old pickup or the old brush truck and mount the skid unit to it. So
Skid
the
onto
skid
that.
unit could
Yeah.
at least be
onto that.
utilized.
Right. So, okay, I understand. So with the recommendations that are here, so we're assuming that we might have about 150,000 available for certified funds for capital.
Correct.
That's based on past history, I'm assuming?
Yes.
And your recommendation from Capital Committee is to spend only 50% of that
Correct.
and then do some other investments. So that would leave us only 75,000 for this year's capital.
That is correct.
Okay. Do we need to have further discussion on that? You want to take a vote on that? What do we think about the recommendation?
So what items were we going to put into the 75,000?
Well, you'd have to go down the list, that's their priority list, and get to the
Because if
total of
look-
75.
Yeah, I added up, and as close as I could get to 75 is 76,700.
Right, the first 3 or
So we're
4.
over, but
Right, and if
not
we
by
add the
much.
fire thing, it would be 94,500.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a matter of,
Yeah, basically in the list I put in the agenda, I went, because it was hard for me to, since we were both rated at 37, I went down through the Norris School roof, which took us to 84,000 and some
Okay.
change.
So,
Wait a minute, let me
you
just
know,
see
that it is possible for the select board to say, well, we think that we should be using 100,000 of the 150. Keeping
No,
some in reserve, or we
Yeah.
like your suggestion, and we're going to supplement with ARPA funds, you know, there's some.
I mean, I
some
personally think
options
it's a
here.
wise decision. I mean, I'm not one to like spending every little penny that we have. I'd rather keep something in reserve. And if we can do something to make it work for us a little bit, rather than keeping it in a practically a 0% interest account, I think that would be a great idea.
I think the committee's thought was that, see how it goes for 5 years, knowing that that's not going to be enough, but, 5 years at 75,000, and then, pick a number based on past performances in other communities, which is public information. If they're getting 5 or 6% return on these numbers, you're talking about $20,000. That's still not enough to do it, but
Sure.
at least it's growing, it's putting money back into it.
Something, yeah.
And, some of these things, we need everything on the list. I mean, I don't think there's anything on here that we could just say we don't need. It's a
No.
wish list, just like the
Right.
budgets from department heads.
Correct, yeah. Yep.
So I made the motion at Capitol, so I'm all in favor of it.
Seconded.
Okay.
I'm all in favor.
So just in general, though, I mean, what does anybody else think about this notion about trying to limit ourselves to a 50% or thereabouts? Maybe not exactly 50%, since
Right,
we
as
might be a
close
tad
as
bit
we
over
can
the
get.
50%. So if I'm understanding, so we have Norris School Masonry at 7,500. Highway Facilities, the heating a new boiler, is that right? For
Yes.
56,000. The highway street sweeper was the third priority. All these scored top scores of 40 out of 50. The highway street sweeper at 263,000. The highway wheel loader at 228,000. So those two obviously would not fit into this new idea of criteria. The next one on down was the cemetery water line replacement for 13,200. And those three get us at 76. Am I not right on that?
Correct.
76.7 or something like that, or no?
You're removing the highway big ones, right?
Correct, I'm taking the first.
76.7.
Mason, 76.7 would get us those three, the Norris School Masonry, Highway Facilities Heating, and the cemetery water line replacement would get us at 76.7. Taking the Norris School roof repair is another $7,400. So give us that figure, 76.7?
84,100.
84,100.
Is that what you got?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to recommend a capital spending for the warrant of Norris School Masonry, 7,500, highway facilities heating, 56,000, cemetery waterline replacement, 13,200, Norris School roof repair, 7,400, for a total of $84,100.
Okay.
All right.
All right, I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? We'll
Yeah,
come back to this, but yeah. So just to note, what would not be in this pot, aside from the 2 highway ones that are way over and above, and we would have to deal with them in a different way, right? But just so that we're clear with what we would not be including, fire rescue vehicle with trailer at $18,000.
Can we talk about these individually? Can I just say something?
Okay.
I mean, this is obviously a climate change thing, and I wonder, I mean, with fires and that sort of thing, and I just wonder whether or not there might be grants available for it.
Yeah,
So
well,
that's
there
why I
could be,
mentioned that.
yeah.
There could be.
Yeah, I mean, we can, okay. Maybe the easiest thing to do is just take a vote on the 84, 100.
Okay.
I get discussion.
Yes,
Ed, am I correct? I'm looking at the revenue report as of April 7th that was run, and if I look under stabilization fund 14,985, is the number that's in there represent the current balance before this certification of free cash?
Hang on a second.
The description says stabilization fund. I just don't know if there are
Well,
two.
there's 2 of them. Well, actually 3. There's ambulance stabilization, there's capital stabilization, and operating stabilization.
But it might be encumbered.
So I see ambulance and stabilization, but I don't see, I'm just looking to see what the current balance is.
so we might have some carryover to put in there.
Hang on. There it is.
How did the roof get covered on the pavilion?
Undesignated.
Wasn't that CPC?
On the pavilion roof.
It wasn't capital.
Yeah, it might have been CPC. Maybe undesignated funds.
So I'm just wondering why, maybe CPC
The
could
other thing we
fund the
don't know
repair of
is
the
how
tennis
much-
courts.
Yeah, could be.
If they covered the roof repair, I don't see
It
why
has
they
to go
wouldn't
into
cover
next year's free cash if there's any.
Yeah, I am
left
concerned
over.
about the tennis courts because they're getting to the point where they are not usable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're
But I
getting,
was just saying, the roof on the pavilion, I believe, was covered with CPC funds. So if that's
Could have
true,
been.
then I don't see why the Park Commission couldn't put forth a CPC request. Although the time to do it would be now,
Yeah.
before spring, right?
right.
What's he looking at?
Looking for the capital
Oh,
stabilization
balances?
fund. If we have a balance in there.
I see the operating, I don't see the capital in here.
Are you seeing the capital, John, or that's not
No,
what you're saying?
I just see stabilization ambulance.
Okay.
I don't think I've got it on my flash drive, but let me take a look.
Okay.
So is there a possibility for ARPA or another source for like the fire rescue vehicle if there's no grant available? I mean, John's pretty good about looking up grants.
Yeah, I'm not sure why, but I think both he and Ian had applied last year, and I'm not sure exactly why it got turned down in terms of whichever fund they had applied for. They did their own application on that?
They
think one asked for
they
the-
split it. Ian did the ATV, and I think the trailer. John did the skid unit or the skid unit and the trailer. It just got down to the point where there
Available
wasn't
funds.
available funds for the grant, so.
They gave them something.
What could fit in what they had left, much like this type of thing was.
Kinda like what we're doing right
The
now.
skid unit, yeah, exactly.
But why would you fund something that depended
Yeah.
on something else?
I know, yeah, well, it's just one part of the program not talking to each other probably, but also just trying to do something for as many communities as they possibly can, even though it's not the whole package of what's needed to actually make it functional.
Yeah. So the 2 reports that I have that Bradley gave me was the one as of 4/7/2022, and then the one ending June 30th, 2021, and under 80.
That's the one you want to look at.
Under Department 82, the ending balance for stabilization fund / capital was $1,425.
1,400.
I thought it was higher than that. but,
Negligible.
yeah,
Yeah.
That should be accurate.
I mean, they spent down everything last year.
Yeah.
1485.
Okay, so I'm coming back to Are we ready to,
So just to clarify, so it's it's North School Masonry, the highway facilities heating, bypass the sweeper and the loader,
yep,
water line replacement, which
For the cemetery.
that 13,000 would get added to the existing appropriations already there,
right?
and 7,400 and the 18,000?
No,
Not the
no,
18,000.
The 18, we stop at that?
The 18,000 would put it over 100,000, it'd be 102.
Yeah,
Something.
so we're not really, abiding by the spirit of what has been recommended by capital. I think if we stopped at the 84,100, that gets us at least close to the idea of what they've recommended to us.
Okay.
As a start.
That's what I was thinking, if we just, I would refer the Park Commission back to
Yeah,
CPC.
and we need to look at other
Hey, John.
resources. What?
What was the date on that report that you got?
For 2021,
Yeah.
April 7th, 2:12 PM.
For 2021?
Do you have something different, Ed?
Yeah. Are you looking at the column that says budget revisions of $1,425?
It's... Stabilization fund count, it says 1425 all the way across. Revenue revisions, revised estimate, and
Yeah,
actual
didn't you
revenue are the
provide
same
that?
numbers.
I thought you provided that number to us. It was,
Yeah. I'm looking at a balance of 53.6.
It's close to the end is except for Jen's.
53.6?
Correct.
Really?
And I just don't know if there were some adjustments. Yeah, this one was done in September of 2021. So I just don't know if there was any
We haven't
adjustments.
spent, we haven't gone to town meeting for anything. What did we,
Okay.
was there anything on the January, February town meeting? Special town meeting?
December?
I'd have to go back and look.
I have a copy of it. I'll check.
Yeah, but at that point, that number's 9 months,
Yeah.
more than 9 months old, and there could have been encumbrances or,
I think there were encumbrances.
that drove that number down to the 14.
Well, the question would be, did that number have in it the annual town meeting appropriations for capital or not? It should have, but I don't know. That's what I'm going to have to double check on.
Gotcha.
Okay. Well, at this point in time, we have 84,100 clear on the table as the proposition. There's a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion on that, could we at least have a vote on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Ed, can I just ask you, was the pavilion roof funded by CPC?
Oh, God. You just love to tax my memory. I believe it was.
So there's no reason why the Park Commission couldn't go to CPC to get the tennis courts repaired, correct? I don't see where the difference is.
As long
Well-
as it's to rehabilitate or restore, not to maintain.
Yeah.
That's an issue in terms of
Yeah.
maintenance.
Well, let's face it, the roof was to repair. You're not rehabilitating the pavilion.
I'd have
Or
to-
restoring, the roof is the whole point of the pavilion.
I'd have to go back and double check on that just to make sure it was.
Okay.
I know the money was sitting there before I got there, and they just, for whatever reason, couldn't get it done, so
I'll look it up.
I will double check on that. And then I would like to recommend to the select board that we put an article, the select board puts an article on the annual town meeting under debt for borrowing of the highway wheel loader for $228,000.
Well, I was going to ask if it's appropriate to make that motion, so I'll make a motion, because although it's ranked number 4 here, I
Yeah.
believe in the order we were giving, outside of heating, that was the next priority. And the street sweeper, I still think there's alternate ways there, but I'd make a motion that we add an article for a debt override for $228,000 to purchase a new highway wheeler loader.
We're talking debt exclusion, or what are we talking? Debt?
And just,
When you say the word override, that engenders all sorts of,
I want it outside the levy.
Yeah, debt exclusion.
and
Debt
I
exclusion.
don't recommend outside the levy, I
Why?
recommend a straight borrowing.
Why?
I don't believe it's going to pass on a debt exclusion, and we need it.
Okay,
Can
well,
someone explain why it's listed further down than the sweeper if the highway department supervisor was asked to prioritize these?
well, first of all, it should be known that particular department head will not prioritize his request.
Okay, all right,
So
that's all
we
you need to say.
Right. And they all got 40s.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking there was the dollar amount?
No, I
You think the sweeper's more important?
I took it, and my ratings in place of the department head were number 1, heating, number 2, the loader, because of the fact that the loader plows snow, it loads the trucks for sand and salt in the wintertime.
That's how we interpret it, too,
The sweeper, I still believe there's alternative methods of funding.
Right, and that's how we interpret it, just the
Right.
sweeper and loader are reversed.
Right, and the other night at the joint meeting with Finance, I believe you brought that up, and the loader came out with Randall present
Yes.
as the priority over the sweeper, so I think we're fine on that part. Okay? Okay, so we've agreed to this.
I still go with debt exclusion.
Huh?
I go with the debt exclusion, outside the limit.
So, yeah, so could you just give us a little bit more detail on that? So other than a debt exclusion, what do you think the wrinkle
A
is?
debt exclusion is outside
Yeah.
2.5, so yes, if it passes, it's an additional tax to the taxpayer over and above. It disappears once
Once it's
that
paid off.
debt is paid off.
Right.
However, the flip side of that is a debt exclusion is going to require, just like a borrowing, a 2/3 vote at town meeting. However, it's also going to require a ballot vote at the annual town election. And if it fails at the annual town election, it's X amount of months until we have a special town meeting to put it on as a regular borrowing.
Well, I don't have the updated numbers in front of me, but my memory serves that last year, we only had $200,000 left between our current spot and our levy ceiling. So this is above that, and we have other things to do. So,
Well, no, it's not above that, because if you borrow this for 10 years, that's $23,000 a year and not $230,000.
You're splitting it.
I still like the Mass Turnpike approach, even though they never did it. Charge me for the debt. When the debt's gone, stop charging me. So I say outside the levy limit.
Any further comments on that? I would personally recommend that we let the town administrator use his best judgment on this particular issue,
In terms of what?
using straight debt rather than a debt exclusion.
Okay.
Well,
Do we want to vote on that?
I mean this with all due respect. I seriously do. What are we elected to do? Defer everything to the town? I mean, I heard his recommendation. I respectfully disagree with it.
Okay.
I will accept the fact that if I'm the only one to vote in favor of this, that's fine with me. But
Okay. No, that's what I'm saying. I was just giving you my position on that,
repeat
but
your-
we can make a motion to that effect if you would like.
yeah, we had a debt exclusion article for the highway wheeler loader for $228,000.
Okay. As a debt excluded.
Right.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against?
So how is
Sorry?
your motion different from, we can exceed, we can borrow and then exceed the 2.5 for the period of time of the debt? How is that different from what Ed's saying?
I'm not following you. So it's either outside the levy limit or inside. I'm saying this is outside, so this doesn't, we're not constricted by our 2.5
Right,
ceiling.
right. So then it would have to go to the voters after
Right,
the meeting.
Either way, it's got to go to the voters.
Okay.
Right.
So you're proposing that we don't let 2.5, we can go beyond that, and he's saying that it needs to be within the 2.5?
I believe the town administrator is recommending that we do it within the levy ceiling,
Within the
or
levy
levy limit,
Levy limit.
the levy limit, which means that just as long as we don't exceed the ceiling, we're good. And there's one less, it doesn't require, what's the difference in voting? It doesn't require the ballot vote at town meeting, but it's still got to, either way, it goes to the full voters at the
Right, but
ballot.
that's the point I was making. The one
does
that
not-
goes exceeds the
yeah.
2.5 is going to be a ballot vote after the town meeting. There's a big
And
difference.
if we do it within, it's part of the budget.
Correct.
Right, so either way, it gets to the ballot, either they approve the budget.
Well,
Yeah, but the
or they-
budget
well,
is
it goes
in the
to-
context
it
of the
goes to
entire
town
thing.
meeting
That's not
either
the
way.
same.
Yeah. it's gotta go
Regular
to town
borrowing
meeting,
does
for sure.
not go to a ballot vote.
Right.
That's the difference.
I mean, staying within the levy versus outside the levy is the biggest issue, right? Yeah. Okay. All right, so I think
I mean, we'd be better off if we could get it through as a debt exclusion. I totally agree with John
And
on that.
that's on us to educate the public and get the word out there and do the discussion on it, but
You find it?
What'd you find?
I just need to speak about, if you're putting a
But
question.
I'm sorry. Point of order, you've called for the vote.
Yeah, no, I did. I mean, that's what I'm
Okay.
saying.
Sorry.
If you're calling for
Holding
the
up my
vote, that's fine, but I'm just letting you know that I'm ordering ballots for the annual town meeting
Okay, we heard you.
in the next week.
We're going to be
So if there's
taking
any
a look at
questions, the
this.
deadline's gone.
Got it.
I have to go on the ballot.
We understand. Okay, I think we have a motion on the floor.
I think half of us voted already, the other half didn't.
We didn't vote yet.
We didn't really vote.
You called for the vote, Francine and I voted.
I voted.
And then there was a question.
Okay,
Oh, I thought you meant that it was by discussion.
okay.
But I voted.
So just to repeat the motion, for the other half over here, it was to go for the 2.5, I'm sorry, to put this on as a debt exclusion, right?
Correct, for $228,000 for the highway wheeler
$228,000.
loader.
It was seconded, we had a vote, I didn't catch the vote. I heard John, yes?
And me,
Was that a yes?
yes.
Okay.
No.
No.
No on my part. 3-2. So we will put it on as,
Yeah, put anything on
Anything
yet.
I guess I'm
That one went down. We don't have an approved vote as of yet.
okay, so we can't put that on as that. We have to take another motion then to put it on as a straight borrowing. Is that correct? Within the levy? Is that correct?
Or not purchase it.
Or we're not
Or not
purchasing,
purchase it.
that's the other option. You're correct.
That is the other option, but I'm not
Lease it,
sure.
yeah.
Well, we've looked into some leasing ideas, and that doesn't seem to work on too many things so far.
Well,
I think those are hard to do, and sharing it with another town is not likely either.
for a loader, no, but
So-
maybe for this week. Yeah.
All right. Would anybody like to make a motion to continue this, to at least try to purchase this vehicle for the highway department?
And Ed, you're saying this would just go in the budget? Is that what I heard you say?
It would be
A
within,
straight borrowing, if approved, would stay within the limits of 2.5 and would become part of our budget, correct?
right? And the borrowing is usually a 10-year time period? Is that what you were saying, life of the?
I would probably say for something like this, it's probably going to be somewhere between 7 and 10 years.
Okay. All right. Would anyone like to make a motion, or do we drop this?
I'll make a motion to add a warrant article, or include it in part of the budget, within the 2.5 limits, will be part of our budget, to fund it at 228. I don't have the total figure in front of me.
Exactly 228 by the looks here.
Okay.
Okay, have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, further discussion.
So assuming this passes, and you're using a 7-year useful lifespan, so or 7-year debt exclusion, you divide the number by 7, and then we're going to input that number into our existing budget, correct?
I would have to check on how long a waiting period this type of equipment would take.
Right.
Of whether it would be here and added to the 23 budget or the 24 budget.
Let's just assume it can show up in 23.
Okay.
Then we would have to put the number in the budget.
Then we would have to put that
Right.
number into the budget,
And for
correct.
everybody listening at home, right now, the budget is in deficit by how much?
172,000.
And this would just compound that. So we put this in, and we got to find something else to cut, because we're doing it within our capacity.
That would be
Just to be
correct.
clear. So when it
That'd be
comes
correct.
time to vote to cut jobs, okay?
Well, and I think our past experience has been that when we order large equipment items, they are not ready immediately, and oftentimes it takes more than a year to get them on our debt schedule, does it not?
I would agree with that, but I would also point out that previously at a meeting, the treasurer, collector, with the town administrator provided us our debt schedule, and there's nothing rolling off that's going to replace this either in 23 or 24. So 23, 24, maybe 25, we're going to have to deal with the consequences of this action.
Well, you mentioned that this would be something that we would purchase by borrowing.
Correct.
So how would that show up then if this is part of the operating budget? I mean,
Well,
we're not replacing jobs.
You have to put the debt payment.
Let's just say that,
Like 30,
okay,
30,000 or
a loader is available in a 6-month time frame. That means the town would receive it around December, the end of December 2022. We would then have to borrow for that before the end of the fiscal year, so it doesn't affect our free cash. So whatever the principal and interest are that we'd have to pay before June 30th would impact and be added to our fiscal year 23
And
budget.
if it was in December, that would probably come in around $20,000 or so.
Well, whether it's December or May, depending on how long you borrow for, you're going to have a principal amount and an interest amount. So,
Right, for the year.
yeah, so you would, whichever year that falls into, that's when it would impact that fiscal year's budget for the first time.
Any further discussion? Are we ready to take a vote on this? Okay, we have a motion on the floor to include this as part of the budget as a straight borrowing for $228,000.
I just want to hear I know what you explained. We wouldn't get it, we wouldn't have to start, we'd have to borrow. If that came in December, we would only then be responsible for the second 6 months of the fiscal year.
It doesn't make any difference if
But
it's
we
six.
need a number.
Yeah, it doesn't make any difference if it's 6 months or 2 months. There's going to be
The whole thing.
one principal amount and an interest amount on
Okay.
that.
If it was over a 10-year period, for example,
That's what I was
then it
assuming.
would be like,
That's why I came up with
round it up,
20,000.
20, yeah, 20, 25, 30,000, something like that would be the payment that we would have to
Right.
include
Right.
in any given fiscal year over that time period. Is that correct?
And to John's point, if it was done through a debt exclusion and it did pass, then it doesn't affect our budget in any particular year,
Right.
because
And it
it's
doesn't-
debt exclusion and it's over and above.
And we're not going to be forced with the issue of addressing, we already borrowed for this loader, so now because no one's been able to show me so far where all this extra money is in our budget other than personnel, that's going to be the only option left. But
Well, and we know that grants are not generally available for big equipment
No.
items, so that's not even a possibility to even think about. So it's either a budget item or we don't do it. And
So hypothetically, under discussion, hypothetically, if we go back and we try the debt exclusion and it fails, okay?
yeah,
We can come back to this approach
You can.
in two ways. Either one, in the next budget, and/or couldn't we do it during a special town meeting?
You could. Well, the caveat to, are you talking of changing from a debt exclusion to a regular borrowing?
Yeah.
Yes, then you could.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, this is to purchase a piece of capital equipment that, to me, is outside of our general operating funds, which is our 2.5% tax money, which is for the day-to-day operations of the town. So we attempt to go out and say, listen, this, our tax dollars aren't meant to drive this. This vehicle we're displacing probably a 20-year-old loader or a 30-year-old loader, or whatever it is. It's a one-time thing. Here it is. Here's the money. It's paid for. It's done. Now the debt's gone. And you see relief in your tax bill. We attempt that approach, knowing that we have less than 30 days or 10 days to get the ballot questions done, and we test the waters. I mean, but again, it comes down to, if we keep adding within our 2.5, we're just squeezing where we already know we don't have the money. We haven't even addressed adequate wages yet.
I think we're looking to it based on past history, what we've had
I
when
was
we've
just gonna
had
say
these votes
that.
come before town meeting, which have passed town meeting and failed at the ballot box, and oftentimes it's been highway.
Repeatedly.
We're looking at the risk versus the reality, too.
Right,
So-
but nothing prevents, if it fails at the ballot, we try. If it fails at the ballot, in the spring, we're going to have the special town meeting. We just then go in an alternate course and go that direction.
Which is what we did with the last
Right.
truck. Correct.
I'd like to remove my motion. I still support this, but I think that what we haven't done yet and is to go through department by department on the budget, partly because the Finance Committee is still working with departments. But I go through the budget, I went through every single line, and I actually am a little concerned about, for example, Planning Board is up $15,000, but there's no change in expense line for most of the departments except for the accounting budget. Like, I need to understand why increases were put in on certain lines and it's not across the board. So before I say that there isn't money in the budget or someone's job is at stake, which I don't think is, I don't think that's realistic, I would like to withdraw the motion until I know where the budget stands, and since we have time to do that, I would like to remove my motion.
All right, so moved.
That makes sense.
All right, so at this point in time, we have no decision on this, except that we are right now not aiming for a debt exclusion. Is that correct?
Correct.
Summing that up correctly?
Just tabling it all.
And
We're just tabling it until whenever we can pick it back up again after we've had more examination of the budget?
And can I just ask if, what the plan is for getting back to department heads around what wasn't funded? Is that going to be at a department head meeting or something, or?
What's that?
I just want to make sure that there's feedback back to departments about things not being able to be funded in this particular capital request.
Well, let's just go through, just for everybody listening, let's go through the list of what's not been dealt with here on the capital list, so that everybody's clear. So the fire rescue vehicle trailer, $18,000. Parks tennis court repair, $32,500. Highway flatbed pickup, $68,300. Police F-150 pickup, $65,000. Norris School locker painting, $16,672. And Norris School security cameras, $9,875. So those are the other items that were ranked in the capital committee that do not fit this proposition of trying to reserve a good chunk of funds and try to build up our reserves on this. I still come back, I don't believe we've had any vote, right, on this recommendation of the capital committee to try and keep some money in reserve and do the reinvestment or investment of it through the prudent person rule. Is that not something that we need to vote on? Or are we just taking this as a recommendation and we'll just kind of follow it? It seems like we ought to decide if we're going to go this route.
Speaking from the committee's point of view, the committee would like direction. So if the select board is in agreement, the select board adopting this recommendation for the 5-year period on the prudent person would give clear direction to the appointees, and that whole committee is, there are no elected officials on the committee, right? There are 5 appointees of the select board.
Correct.
So they're going, the committee's looking to its appointing authority to say, yes, go with this, or no, don't.
Yeah. Does anybody have any thoughts against this idea?
I actually can't support that because I don't know, I agree, and this year I'm happy to go with the 84-1. It seems like a good thing to do, but I can't speak to, I need to learn a little bit more about that particular principle, and I also would be a little concerned if this was binding, because if there was some emergency, I just feel like I don't want to lock in, but I think it's a good guidance to follow, and I support following it. We didn't exactly do it. We're over by $9,000, so.
I was going to say, insert the word approximately 50%.
Yeah, I mean, I support the idea of it, but I don't feel like I want to tie my hands behind my back
Because in this
either.
first year, we've already exceeded it.
Right, so I would say it's a principle to follow as opposed to an absolute rule. But the capital committee would like some guidance for the future so that we kind of know going in what we're dealing with up front. But again, it's a principle, so we've already exceeded it a little bit this year, and maybe there would be a situation where we had to exceed it. But it's a principle that we would like to adhere to, if possible.
But would this allow, without any formal recognition of this, would this allow the treasurer to do a different kind of investment of the remainder of the funds?
Well, the treasurer is already empowered to do it by themselves because they're elected.
But using the prudent person rule?
Yeah, an elected treasurer can do either one without approval. If it was an appointed treasurer, the appointing body would have to
Okay.
vote to approve which one it is.
Thank you for that information. Yeah. Okay. All right, well, in that case, maybe we don't need a formal vote on this. We take this as general guidance and a principle, as Margaret was saying, that we generally agree with the principle as laid out, and we'll do our best to follow that going forward.
Well, in that case, could we just remove the word recommendations and change the word recommendation to principles, and then adopt that? So what I'm envisioning is next year, the committee sees this as its principles, right? This is what we're going to follow. Here comes our list. Okay, if we follow this, here are the ones that we can fund, but we may want to exceed it to here. Either way, it comes back before the select board.
Right.
It's just a matter of...
A line, like,
Yeah.
be a visual line.
Sure.
So you could see where the totals.
All right.
I think that's how.
It also helps if you get a committee member that just wants to spend every penny. We can refer back to this document and say,
Yeah. Okay.
That's what's happened in the past.
Yeah. So this would keep basically keep the narrative there, switch the word recommendations to principles, and maybe insert the word approximately 50%? Okay. Is everybody in agreement with that?
Yep.
I'll move to make that motion with those changes or modifications.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
Back to my original question, how will the department heads that did not get approved be notified?
Would it be appropriate for the acting chair of the capital committee just to do an email back to those department heads?
The town administrator will take care of that.
Okay.
And I also have a department head meeting on Thursday morning.
He's got enough on his plate. He's got enough on his plate.
I
We need to deflect.
think it's debatable about the CPC for the tennis, but I think it's worth asking because
I can just go back to an old report and find out where
Okay.
that money was sitting.
I just hope that some of the other funding sources might be able to pay for some of those smaller ones.
Open that one.
Possibly. Yep. Okay. All right. Let's see if we
Always like a
can
T-shirt, and I'm freezing.
go back to our reports here. Okay. Where are we on our agenda? I think we're up to the
You're up to the revenue. Actually, no, the budget request. We skipped down to capital.
budget request. So, let's see if we have this on the screen here. You can see this?
Yeah.
Are we at the point of going down and asking questions about various lines? Or are we going to wait for the finance committee to meet with all departments?
You can ask your own questions at any time.
Okay.
I think we have some questions we could ask,
Oh,
but
I got a lot
they're
of
still meeting.
questions. I just don't know if I want to jump ahead in front of the finance committee.
No, and I just want to be sure we're looking at the columns that we have on our,
I'm looking at, was it within the select board packet?
yeah, well, I'm looking at the one that's online. Hopefully it's the same one. The 23 budget number 1, which is not the wish list, it's the basic budget from 23 to 22, right? And I just want to see that total here, just a second.
And I'll see if projector will cooperate with me tonight.
Too much to ask for. So with that, the budget for last year was $18,295,262. The request in budget 1 this year is $19,183,117.08, with revenue projections of $19,010,322. So therefore, potential deficit variance rather of $172,795.08. That's with the estimated first level budget. That's not looking at the next column with the wish list, right? That's where I think we are.
And tomorrow night's meeting is dedicated exclusively to revenue.
It's Thursday.
Right, Thursday.
Thursday.
Thursday's meeting is revenue, to talk about just our revenue projections and figuring out how realistic some of those are. Yep. And seeing where we are with that. Thank you, Margaret.
So I'm just wondering, at what point are we going department by department and speaking up about or asking questions about various lines, if we're there yet? And if that's the case, then I have a lot of questions, because I think we have a big gap to fill.
And we also have to hear from the Finance Committee in terms
Right.
of the questions
Right.
that they
That's what I'm saying.
have
I don't want
about
to
what's
jump in front
been
of this Finance
submitted.
Committee, but I
Well,
still have questions about.
We know they're meeting tomorrow night on some of the smaller ones, and then we're having our revenue discussion on Thursday. John, would you be opposed to hearing some questions that you could carry back to Finance tomorrow, or?
I'm not at tomorrow.
Oh, you're not going to be tomorrow night's meeting, sorry. I'm sorry, you're not going to be there tomorrow night.
Okay.
I can carry them back.
I'll ask a few questions.
I can also
Okay.
Yeah.
carry them back to the particular departments.
Okay, it's time to change selectmen expenses to select board. Been waiting 4 years for that. And the expense went from 1,400 to 1,800. We have a reserve account that went from 2,000 to 5,000. I think we can save some money there. Or not go up as high in the reserve fund. I know you want to have a higher reserve fund because we've had lots of things that we need to use it on short notice without approval or transfers. So that's just my thought on that. To go from 21,000 to 36,000 on the legal fees seems like a big jump. Seems like we can save some money there.
Well, don't
And-
forget, 5,000 of that is the request of planning for their
Their bylaw review?
zoning.
Right, but they're also getting additional $15,000. Did we find out why?
Yeah.
Yes, I actually talked with Paul today, and they're looking for that, or a portion of that, to keep moving forward with their zoning bylaws update, because their revolving fund that they had started with is getting down to a minimum amount.
Okay, so 5,000 plus 15,000.
That would be correct.
So I'm just wondering about whether or not
This should
that...
be 41,000? Well, the 5 would come out of planning.
So they're looking for $5,000 under
Legal.
legal, an additional $15,000 to hire continue the bylaws.
Correct, which they didn't have before because they paid for it out of their revolving account.
So that would be to hire their consultant to keep on doing their reviews.
Correct.
So
Okay.
it's not for a part-time planner like they had been talking about at one point in time?
No.
Okay, well, that's still a $10,000 increase in the legal line, even with that included. And then there's an expense that's doubled on the town accountant. Is there a reason for that? None of the other departments have a significant increase in their expenses except for the accountant. It goes from 800 or 900 to 1,700.
We have a brand-new accountant and a brand-new assistant town accountant. Those would reflect basically educational opportunities.
Okay.
And, yeah.
I'm just all... that's what I'm-
Just while we're on the accountant, though, my question is, the number looks off to me. I don't think that the accountant's salary line is in agreement with the employment agreement. I think it's understated.
I'll go back and take a look, because I thought it stated
it's
that
accurate.
the accountant would get the same COLA
Yeah.
as any other non-unit employee.
Right, I think it's 2%.
Okay, well, all right.
But I'll double
If
check
that's the
that.
case, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because I was worried about that one too, but
Right.
I'll double check on it.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just going to keep going because I
We had
have
the
all these
audit,
underlines.
the
if
audit as
anybody has
well.
any
We knew that
questions.
the audit was the other big
Audit was the other big one. Did we find out anything from Melanson?
That was their quote.
Right, but you were going to go back and talk to them and see if they would be willing to do anything different? Since 36,000 is just a
I mean, that's ridiculous.
huge amount.
I just think it's strange.
35 is what's on here. Is it 36?
36. No, 36 is on here.
It is?
36 is in what's in the green column, the third column over.
No, 35 is on mine. This is the select board report. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yep, no, that's the legal.
Yeah, so it went, well, audit is from 21.5 to 36 is what's being proposed, what's being asked.
Okay, conservation wages, 19,000.
That's for a part-time conservation agent,
So that's a new position?
would be a new
That
position.
would be a new position, correct.
Okay, and then planning board revolving, they're requesting about $1,000 for that? Why would they be requesting it? I thought that's from fees.
That's what they had put in their sheet that they returned to Bradley and I, but no, they would not be requesting revolving funds, so that would come out.
So that's about $1,000 savings there. And then what do we
Well, it's
pay?
$986.
Well, I know, I'm just saying, that's about 1,000. And then Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, what's that for?
Dues?
That's
Or
our,
just dues?
that's our dues, yes.
Wow. And then the town hall building expense, 26,000? What is that gone to? That went from 23 to 25 to 26?
That would be the contractual increases to basically our contract with B&G Mechanical for our quarterly, our contract with the elevator company for, and for their inspections, our contract with the fire suppression company for their annual inspections.
Okay.
It's about a $1,500 increase from last year, thereabouts.
Correct.
Yeah.
Those are the questions I had.
One back above that, if I can ask. The telephone looks like it went down, and that's because of our voice over IP, I'm assuming? Be about $2,000 less, from $7,800 to $5,850? It's up.
Right, and I would,
Line
in
62.
my calculations, that would probably drop down further in subsequent years, because what will happen is we will implement the voice over IP, and then once that's implemented and working, we will start dropping the copper lines.
Right.
And we won't be able to drop all the copper lines, because some of them we will need for safety reasons.
Those are the only questions I have on general government, but we have 2 new positions theoretically. I mean, you can take the conservation agent, but you can also the contracting for the planning board.
They could be combined into one.
I mean, it's $5,000 plus 15, one for bylaws, legal, and the other for, the person that's doing it.
That would be hard to combine if they're going to stick with their current consultant. I mean, that
Right.
person doesn't have conservation background.
No.
So you couldn't.
No.
I'm saying that there's, I mean, $15,000 for a contractor
Right.
is a big, it's a pretty big increase in the budget, plus the conservation agent. I totally think we need both. I'm just saying that we have a gap to fill, and unless people think that we need to have an override, it's going to be tough to do this with, $200 here, $200 there. I mean, these are the bigger, I mean, to go from 21,000 to 36 for audit, and then to go from a budget of 21 for legal up to 35, and then 2 new positions, I mean,
Well, and let's not forget about the ask for the extra 18,000 in the assessor's office and the extra
agree.
20,000 in the treasurer's office for
Yep.
2 positions.
yep.
I go back to my previous statement. We can go through a nickel and dime and pull some things out, but I don't know where the fat is in this budget. So I'm really hoping that we have some aha moments Thursday
Yeah.
night on revenue.
The difference between the consultant and the position for Concom is the consultant you could fund with a grant. The conservation.
We got one initially,
Yeah,
and we
the
did it with
conservation agent,
Easthampton,
you
and that
can't.
lasted about a year, and then we were in the worst financial crisis we've been in, and there was no way we were going to have to come up with $10,000.
Well, the consultant is short-term.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
The
Conservation
agent
Conservation is
is,
more-
yeah.
Conservation agent, that would be, grant-wise, that would be a Band-Aid, but that would be an option, I suppose. But it doesn't really solve the problem that they're trying to deal with. You're right, and some of the other items, though, we have a couple of other salary,
Yeah,
about 6,000, I think, on the treasurer's side, and something on the assessor's
And
side.
just, I meant to ask this right after we passed the CBA, but then we moved on so fast. Does the highway department CBA budget 1 contractual increases now need to be adjusted upwards because of the CBA, or the CBA number's already in there?
The existing budget would cover the CBA.
good question.
Is that because of the 2 open positions? Right.
Yeah.
And is it still, at one point, you were contemplating recommending to that department head that the one job that they've been unable to fill for 4 to 5 years, that we move that line item to outsource for repairs? You still, I mean, either we're going to hire somebody or we're not, but 4 years in, we haven't been able to hire.
Haven't done it.
We've now increased the wages.
I would like to see what happens, say, give it 90 days once the new CBA goes into effect, to see if it attracts anyone into that position, and if not, then okay, then we take a look at, okay, how do we outsource that, and then how do we move money at a special town meeting just to accomplish that?
Okay.
I just wanted to point these things out because I will not be here on Thursday, and I know assessors are meeting with the, I'm very aware of it, and liaison assessors, but I also just want to hear what the Finance Committee says about it.
Right. And they've obviously put in a request for an increase in the assessor's salary because they're having such trouble hiring somebody within the current range that they are offering, right? Okay.
And actually, the assessors are scheduled to meet tomorrow night, Wednesday, with the Finance Committee, not Thursday.
Oh, okay.
So somehow that got messed up, and the assessors actually posted for Thursday evening. So that is incorrect.
Okay, well, that's what I heard from the meeting, so that explains it. The MS4 stormwater, we ended up moving over to, out of the budget last year, and it was stabilization.
Right.
And it's now back in there, so it doesn't show up in the previous year, but it did show up the year before. How long, is this an ongoing expense?
It's an ongoing expense.
And which is why Randall really wants us in the budget, and I...
Can we talk more about your idea on that, Edward, Town Administrator?
Oh, now you like my ideas. Okay.
No, I have questions on it, but I want to hear it, and since Rainey brought it up.
Which line are we talking about, please?
We're talking about the storm, underneath
MS4
Public
and
Works.
stormwater.
Last year, we moved it to stabilization because I thought it was not an ongoing expense.
It should eventually start dropping. However, for a few years now, I've had the thought process, and it's not a popular political move. However, MS4 stormwater is here to stay with us. Many communities have implemented a stormwater fee to their taxpayers and residents. When I referred earlier to the fact that a street sweeper might have another funding source, whether it's the MS4 consulting costs that we need to stay constant with our permit, if it's any cost associated with meeting our MS4 requirements, I mean physically out in the field, whether it's labeling stormwater drains or what have you, or equipment associated with that, such as we're required to sweep the streets so much as to keep it. So,
As well as the personnel to do it, right? Like
as well as the personnel to do it. You're absolutely correct, John.
Yep.
So one alternative would be to look at implementing a stormwater fee to the residents and taxpayers that would fund all of those pieces. So it really it would have a net effect on the budget rather than
And so what would be the process?
taxing the budget every time. And this is another one, I'm going to say it, it's an unfunded mandate.
Right.
But
So it's in essence, whether you call it an enterprise fund or not, it basically is following those guidelines, right?
Yes.
These are the expenses, they get certified, therefore your revenue has to at least meet or exceed that, and yada, yada, yada.
Correct.
Right? So how would we go about, if we were so to entertain it, what would be the first steps?
First steps would be to engage an engineering firm or a consultant to look at the town and recommend a couple of different pathways to decipher how that fee may be disseminated, whether that is on, per household, per running foot of frontage someone may own on a street, what have you, and look at the basic costs and figure out what those might look at like.
So do you think, knowing that we don't have the extra money to go hire an engineer firm to do this, but it being water and sewer related and all that, could the engineer fees possibly fall under ARPA?
Yeah, very much so.
Given that stormwater, sewer and water is one of the big categories.
So I'm not a fan in rushing anything through, and I don't think we can get this done in time for this ballot, but I think it should be a priority to fully investigate and either move forward with it or put the matter to bed before the next budget cycle goes through.
I think it'd be a very worthwhile exercise to go through.
I do too.
And the rationale for not putting the 28,000 for stormwater, not handling it the way we did last time is what? Just because it's a recurring expense?
I had to account for it somewhere.
We were moving money to try
Yeah,
to
so, whether it's
reduce the
here or
deficit.
you
There, yeah.
tell me to move it somewhere else, like in a separate article or whatever, but it has to be accounted for someplace.
But if we paid for it out of stabilization, it'd be a separate vote.
Yeah,
Correct.
Right.
yeah, I think is that what we did last time, I think, right?
I'd have
It
to
was
go
a
back
separate
and
vote, yep.
look. I can't remember if it was stabilization
Well, it
or
was a
free
separate
cash.
article.
I
Yeah,
think
it was a separate
It
article.
was a separate article for sure, yeah.
It's been in the operating budget, it's been a separate
Yeah, right.
article.
It's been in and out. It's been in and
Capital
out.
stabilization.
Can I ask why the library maintenance line went up? It was a pretty good jump. What, Lauren, is that, it's under culture and recreation?
Hang on a second.
Line number, the easiest.
Check.
Yeah, it just seemed like it was a,
Library expenses,
is that a contract or something?
171. What, your library expenses is it?
Library maintenance.
Maintenance.
It stayed the same from year to year, and the particular year it jumped up from
It's up.
46 to 62.
Yeah, it's about $1,600 difference. It is,
It's not in their utilities line, so
It's
I've got an
line
idea.
174.
It is due to a couple of things, and we found out that they hadn't had their septic tank pumped in a while, so
That
they had.
big mound in the front of it, nobody thought of it?
So I made sure they did that this year. Because of the issue that they had, because they didn't have the roof drains cleaned off after the new roof was put down when it froze that winter, I have made sure that they have their roof and their gutters cleaned more frequently during the year. And then I know that they've got a couple of things coming up. I know that front sign needs replacing because it's rotted out, and their, what I will call, I guess it's much like the town hall. It's the back of the library, but it's their main entrance. They have the white columns there and what have you. Those are in need of scraping and painting. So I made it my mission to go
Yeah.
over some of those things.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
I have another question about the huge increase in unemployment compensation from 8,000 to 20,000.
In what?
8,000 to 20,000, yeah. Unemployment compensation.
Yes. And that was mine. We can come down on that a bit. We are going to overexpend our unemployment again this year. COVID, and I don't necessarily just mean COVID for regular unemployment expenses has driven these up, but also the state has made us responsible for any fraudulent claims. So I'm probably saying rather than in 20,000, that will probably be all right around 11 or 12.
So I know I know this specific question is going to be a lengthy discussion piece tomorrow night when that department that oversees that, not the line item, but the paperwork of it, is coming in, because what was represented to the Finance Committee is that there were fraudulent charges or fraudulent attempts to collect under the town's tax ID number, but due to a lack of resources within that office, that no appeals have been filed, and we're continuing to be charged interest in that.
That's not my understanding. My understanding is we have done those appeals from day one. It's just the fact that the state does not recognize any of those.
And and I'm just saying what was said at a Finance Committee meeting, that they haven't had time to file the appeals yet, so they did the initial $8,000 payment to the penny, which is what caused the red flag in finance. How could you, that particular line item, how could that go right to the penny when historically you never have? And the response was that we paid what we had in the budget, and when time permits, we will go back and file our appeals. But being self-funded with the state, you have a 30-day window, and the window closes, so...
Yeah, that's not my understanding, so.
Okay.
Two more questions on the benefits. $75,000 increase in group health? Is that going to be actual?
Group health.
Yeah. It goes from 923 to 999.
Yes, that is actual.
That's actual?
Yes.
And what is the other one there that?
It's the actual, the rates are the same, but Jen did forecast that we would have additional people on some of the programs for this upcoming year.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, taking a look at what the school would like to do is, you know, a reasonable.
Yep. And then last one, and that one is, can you explain insurance general? Because that also jumped up quite a bit. It went from 104 to 113,000.
Our insurance general and our workers' comp are both under my jurisdiction, and yes, we have, shall we say, the last few years we have a history, both insurance general of, I will say, vehicle claims, and in workers' comp, we had one very large workers' comp claim that have driven these up significantly.
Okay, but what falls under, what I mean is, what falls under insurance general? So car insurance, liability insurance?
Professional liability insurance, our building insurances,
Car
any
insurance?
property insurances.
Okay.
All our vehicle insurances are under there. Let's say
Wasn't half of that related to the underground storage tank at the highway department that we voted to?
$600.
Was it just six? Oh, but we
associated with
dropped the coverage.
We bought the coverage.
We dropped the coverage. They dropped the dollar amount of the
Yeah,
coverage.
Yes. Correct.
Right.
Yeah. I think the,
And this one, sometimes I get mixed up, but
I didn't have any
our
questions on that.
police and
I'm
fire,
sorry.
like 111F coverage is also in our insurance general account.
and just back up while we're on the individual sort of category levels. On public safety, we've got some fair increases there, but it's, I'm assuming that some of this is contractual on the police department wages,
Yes, this would include any
the CBA?
changes to the CBAs for both dispatch, I believe it's both dispatch and police, yes.
And where are we on those being ratified by the CBAs?
The select board has voted on the dispatch one. I'm just waiting to hear back from them. And then we'll need another executive session for the police, but we're just about, I think, in my opinion, we're just about at completion with that also.
Don't we have one tonight? No? Oh, no. No.
Everything, yep. And that, so that's the communication wages, that's the dispatch, yeah?
Communication wages is dispatch, that's
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
And pretty much, they're already updated.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we have fire wages and EMT wages. Those are both another $30,000 to $35,000 more than last year.
Probably because of
And
the
that-
special town meeting.
That reflects our special town meeting increases and so forth.
I have a question that I asked before, and I'll ask again, because I don't understand why it's not doable.
Yes.
The HVAC system for the high school,
Yes.
we're paying for it now, we're using it now. Is there some reason why that can't shift the payment on that, which is, I think, $18,000 plus interest? Why can't that be an ARPA thing? I know it all happened before ARPA, but we're still using the service and we're paying for the service. So why wouldn't that be something that could be shifted?
I have never seen anything in any of the ARPA documents that would allow the town to
Shift over a debt?
pay the project, yes. Not shift over the debt.
Well, it seems like it's somewhat related.
Would be nice, but.
Even if there was some claim of lost revenue, it still wouldn't, in your mind, be, because we were talking about shifting over some of the pension stuff. I mean, why wouldn't it be able to be used? I mean, we're going to have to move a lot. We're going to have to do something. We're going to have to look at every single line and decide whether it can go to stabilization or ARPA or something, because how far are we off right now? 100, 200,000?
172,000.
172.
72. Anyway, just a thought.
And just another one while we're in on the debt. There's a debt Norris School roof with no money in there. Is that a previous?
paid off.
Oh, that's
Paid off.
it's gone off. Okay.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just in time for
So
another.
gone off to come on with a new one. Okay, gotcha. And nothing else is going off on the debt schedule anytime soon?
Nothing's falling off this year.
Nothing's falling off this year.
Yep.
The ambulance payment that will be in the fiscal year 23, that is in the fiscal year 23 budget, will be the last payment on that ambulance, but the fire chief is looking to replace the other ambulance soon thereafter.
But that debt payment is $68,064 plus interest. There's a offsetting receipt coming in from the ambulance reserve funds, correct?
Reserve for, yes. Yet that shows up in the revenue accounting.
In the 19 million?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, my memory, I'd have to go back and look at it, is I believe I used $200,000 in there to cover the operating expenses and the ambulance payment, but I'll double check that.
How long after certification of free cash do we get, or does it happen simultaneously, certification of retained earnings?
Usually they happen at the same time.
So there's a small possibility that we could get retained earnings certified for the transfer station before?
For that and the water department. And actually, I'm going to see, because they're retained earnings, if they can actually be certified before free cash.
Yeah. Water department, I haven't seen or had any requests come in, but I know that there's a request in for the transfer station that we can only act upon once the retained earnings happen. And retained earnings expire on June 30th.
Correct.
Right, and you have to go through the whole process.
Flow just like free cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't we have to table one of the last articles because of that? We didn't get the...
Yes, but
That's the one.
first time that Randall wanted to purchase those 2 recycling containers was for the special town meeting, and yes, the retained earnings had already expired on those.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any other questions on the budget as we're seeing it, just for our first thoughts and questions that can go back maybe toward the finance folks, if Ed's going to be at the meeting tomorrow night, at least? Hear some of these comments.
I appreciate the information.
Yep.
My pleasure.
Chris?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Yeah, Robert. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Robert Floyd, College Highway Town Moderator. 2 points. Thank you for letting me talk now. April 21st, Thursday, is the Town Moderator Annual Town Meeting Article Information Session. It'll be live, Zoom, 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Not Zoom, live, channel 191.
Here?
And yes, here. And the other thing is, we're meeting in 3 weeks for a town meeting. What do we want to do with the quorum? COVID numbers are rising. 2 of you are wearing masks that you weren't wearing last meeting. Are we going to be worried about a quorum at the end of the meeting? The governor has signed on February 12th, 2022, another letter allowing us to reduce the quorum, working between the select board and the town moderator, as long as you give 7 days notice. So you could decide tonight whether or not you want to reduce the quorum or not, and then give 7-day notice, and 2 weeks from today, vote on it to change the quorum if that's the way you want to go. And it can't be lower than 10%, so it can't be lower than 5. We almost had a situation at the annual, but people stayed. They saw their civic duty. They heard the moderator, help, stay, don't leave. So I don't see a problem, but if the COVID numbers get up, I don't want us to see us postponed to another evening simply because we didn't have a quorum for the last 2 articles. And since we are under the umbrella of COVID, and it is increasing, we might want to consider lowering it just for the town meeting in 3 weeks.
The current quorum's 50?
50, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And we had a good turnout, though, for the...
We did.
We had like, didn't we have like 150
We did.
or something like that?
We 170, but if it goes 3 hours,
Yeah.
because I don't know how many articles you have, I think this seems decent, I think we're okay, but it's an annual.
yeah.
So people like to
Yeah.
talk and come. And if it goes beyond 3 hours, I think we're okay, but I just want to let you know we have an option that we didn't have at the special last time.
So we could talk about reducing it, but not necessarily have to make a full decision tonight, is that what you're saying?
You can talk about it, and as long as you give 7-day notice to the town, you could vote on it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think if we watch the trend, that would give us some more information and make the decision.
Yeah, but I guess what's the harm of adjusting now as a precaution?
See any?
I mean, it's one less thing we have to worry about later on. I don't know that we need to go down to 5, because half the select board and yourself wouldn't be able to go right to town. But, maybe down to 25?
Yeah, I think we've done, didn't we go down to 25?
Go down.
That's what we did last time.
For the outside one at
Yeah,
Labrie,
and
didn't we
some
go down, or
towns,
somewhere?
and I've shared this before, some towns have zero quorum. So yes, theoretically, if
We
3
also
show
are
up,
passing a
then there's the
$19
meeting.
million budget.
Yeah.
We want
We want as many
to be
people there as possible, obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the only thing that's going to reduce our turnout is, again, if we have a spike just prior to this.
Yeah.
And by that time, it'll be too late for us to adjust, and then we have to postpone the meeting.
Yeah, you have a point. I mean, we're just talking about the minimum. That doesn't discourage people unless, of course, the trend goes up. You know,
Okay.
to discourage people from coming in greater numbers is what I mean.
So do we have to give the notice for a 7-day period prior to the vote?
Yes.
So then I would make the motion that we give notice.
No, prior to the vote tonight? No.
So you have to give a 7-day notice prior to the vote.
Oh.
So let's say you vote, I think you have to publish it 7 days, so next meeting is out to vote because you lose your 7 days. But the 2 weeks from today, the 26th, is when you would vote on it if and you do want to vote on it. That's the date you would vote on it, but you have to announce it 7 days before that meeting.
Excuse me, Robert, the 26th is when the warrant has to be posted.
Right.
So
They can do that separate from the warrant. But good call. Thank you, Lucy. Good call. Good call. Teamwork. You can vote separate from the warrant. The warrant is a separate issue from you deciding the quorum. But yes, it does have to be posted before you vote.
Okay. What's
I'll make
anybody's-
a motion to reduce the quorum for town meeting this year by 50% down to 25, and to give notice of our intent to do that and place it on the agenda for an actual vote 2 weeks from tonight.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Okay, cheers. Well
Thank you,
done.
Robert.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that to
Robert.
our attention.
I hadn't seen that one.
Okay.
You got a few other things to do.
You're not reading all your email? What's the matter with you? Yeah, really. Okay. If we have no further discussion about the budget right now, let's keep on moving here. Let's see. I think where are we at? Sorry.
revenue and
Revenue and
expense.
expense reports. Some thoughts there?
I think it looks really good, and I'm just impressed with the departments that, I mean, it's right up there with 75, 80% in a lot of things, so I think people are doing a really good job.
Yeah, it looks like pretty much across the board, we're right around that 75% mark, I mean, for the most part.
I have a couple of questions on the capital funds, but if people have questions on the other part, I'll wait.
I guess I just have a question about the direction people are given if they're in excess of 100%.
Yeah.
What's the conversation and what do we?
The lockup's already had a town meeting about it, the accounting hasn't followed, right?
What's that?
The regional lockup, I
You gotta
mean,
get that
that
off,
just
yeah.
hasn't been evened out yet. That was a town meeting vote, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the journal entry to...
The journal entry
And
stuff
that's it.
hasn't
Correct.
finished. So those are the things you're working on with Bradley?
Where are the other ones?
Because the
Francine?
state budget got approved after July 1st, we had already sent them their checks, so they refunded our money. So that's a journal entry. You're correct.
Okay.
And then the gift fund for the library, I mean, that hasn't been moved over, I think, right?
I guess my question really goes to management of a budget and what steps are being taken to monitor, the department heads are monitoring their budget expenses and managing it within the allocation.
Like, I know from the standpoint of the Council on Aging local, that's 13210. I believe there's going to be a request for a transfer because their state formula grant monies are pretty low. And I think they had changes in staff and,
Yeah.
there's been some,
Okay, but I'm okay with that. And again, coming back to the fact that if there is an overage and the transfer occurs within the same department, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Right.
But for the ones that don't have plans to move the money from within their own department, where are we going with
which
guidance?
ones are you referring to?
Which ones are you referring to?
No, I'm just looking overall at the ones, there's some that are really, in excess, and just looking at the ones over 100% and saying, what are we doing?
What's with the dog numbers, the dog control?
The animal
It is.
control, the contract is coming up due soon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I
but it
mean,
says
that
here,
was-
budget revisions 200, it says actual expended 4,800.
Right.
And then it says balance is negative 4,640. It's completely off, right.
Yeah. We
Is that
did,
just an accounting issue? Yeah, okay.
Where is that one?
The dog control, that's under revolving.
Revolving?
I didn't see that
Yeah,
many,
it's-
Francine, that were
Yeah, because
actually over.
the ending revolving fund balance hasn't come over.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So those are waiting still for these packets
Right.
to be posted and approved and get them in there?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because that's, I think the revolving fund issue's been the same for a couple of the others, where we're still waiting for
Yeah.
the
The same for all of them.
Yeah.
end of 21 and the new balance for 22 to start with, so, okay. Yeah, I think those are not.
The questions I had were the ones that haven't been spent at all, and one of them, for example, is the $13,000 in the police furnace replacement. The
Yes, in fact, I was just in contact with BG Mechanical about, because of basically supply chain issues and whatever.
Okay.
Finding out what actually was available so we could move forward with that.
And what about the Norris masonry repairs? That's $22,000, and nothing's been spent on it.
That's the one I was talking about earlier when we were talking about capital, because when they had that approved last year, that was their estimate, and when they went out to bid, the actual cost came in way above that.
Okay, right.
So is the money we talked about for capital tonight for masonry, is that added to that line, or is this another line?
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, this would be, well, it would be a different article.
Yeah, but I mean, but it's.
Much
to this
like the
line-
water line at the cemetery.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, well, that was, yeah, right, that got
Like I
it.
say, my understanding from talking to Denise a few weeks back was they were going to move forward to see what they could actually get done this year with what was already approved, rather than sitting on it and asking for more to do the entire project.
Yeah,
I think we'd need to look at the masonry out front here for next year's capital request.
yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm not seeing, Francine, ones that you're focusing on offhand?
yeah,
I mean, go for it.
I'm just looking down the percentage column, and there's some that are substantially over, and making certain that, first, every attempt is made to resolve it within the department by moving the money, that the money is, that people are looking out and seeing, this is all I have to spend. If I have to spend it here, I can't spend it there within the same department. I'm just talking about a management issue.
Right. Well, we know that the gas and electric for town hall, and that's the whole
I know, is out of everybody's control.
That's the whole Cal Power thing.
Yeah.
We know the winter roads expenses, that's already something that we're allowed to do
Right.
deficit spending on.
We're allowed that one,
Even
yes.
that line item looks pretty good, because look at the savings and wages. I mean, they don't quite cancel each other out, but it's not going
Right.
to take a big
Yeah,
It's close.
number to fix.
it's close there a little bit. Yeah.
And some of the ones, and the other part of it is some of the ones we're still waiting on reimbursement. I know that, some more money will be coming in like the school lunch program and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So But just with an eye to knowing how we got there and how we're going to get out of it, if that's the situation.
Well,
I have a couple questions on page 4
go ahead.
of the expense report. So, again, just from a numbers point of view, if we have 100% of the money to spend over 12 months, right, that's 8.3% per month, and this report goes up to April 7th, so I'm assuming it's 9 months,
That's right.
9 times 8.3,
Yeah.
gets you to 75%. So I'm just wondering, I guess, if group health insurance jumps out at me, it looks like that's going to be underspent. And then I noticed the year, well, I don't know if it was the year before or 2 years before, there was 70,000 underspent in that. I know there's anticipation of there's at least, well, assuming the budget passes, there's 2 new positions coming out at Norris. I have no idea what the family rate is. I'm guessing that's the number that's being used as a placeholder. The new positions being considered or contemplated for the town side of the budget, none of those would change benefits. There's like additional hours. And then ComCom, that wouldn't be benefit eligible. And what was the second position that we were talking about in here? In planning?
Yeah, the planning consultant.
Planning, but that's not going to be benefit eligible based on the number of hours they're asking for.
Right.
How about some of the highway positions which are currently vacant that we hope to fill?
Were they on? So if the person that left was a single, and out of abundance of caution, we budget the family, I completely get that. I guess from my point of view, I would be in favor of reducing that line item, but if there's a work paper that that department has, it'd be good to see it. And then just say, okay, yeah, I'm good with your number. Because, again, we're going up 70,000, and here I think, if I take the 653 and divide that by the 9, we need 75,000 a year to get, a month to get through. We're not going to use up that full 270,000 that's sitting in there. And then question, Medicare claim expenses. Seems like a brand-new line item. Should that possibly be up above under Medicare? Fourth line item from the bottom, $1,286.
Yeah, why is that separate?
Well,
Medicaid, that's not Medicare.
Versus Medicare.
Yeah.
Right.
Separate one.
But we never had that before?
May not have. I'd have to go back and do the research on it.
Sometimes the schools can bill Medicaid if the services are provided by the nurse or other
Okay.
people in the department.
Yeah.
So that might, I don't know why it would land there, though.
And then,
It's like employees.
yeah. That's all. Also, I'm sorry, back, retirement contribution. Did we budget the discounted price?
Yes,
Thank you.
we did, when it wasn't me, so, yes, no.
Well.
The treasurer took care of that this year.
All right.
So this is 100% for the year.
Excuse me.
That's for the year.
Well, it's because we took 15,000 out of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we paid up front, right, and got a
Yes.
discount on it, right?
We've got a
Right.
discount, that's
Okay.
good.
Right. Yeah. And some of the, whatever, the other that had been put erroneously into highway or something, that was getting dealt with in the current budget.
Yeah,
Request.
yes. That's why you'll see in the highway,
Right,
there's a
that's what he
negative
was
there, and then,
Talking about the other night, right? So-
yeah.
Okay, any other questions on expense report? We will deal with the revenue on Thursday and see if we can understand that projection. All right, let's keep on moving if we're done with budget for now. Revenue and expense reports, rather. Let's talk about, I guess, ARPA funds and application ideas. I think tonight, I think we have in our packets just some, or I guess this is maybe all of the applications that have come into us thus far. We're still obviously accepting applications, and thank you again, Rainey, for doing the application form, which is online. If people haven't found it, it's on the front page of the website.
Would it be okay if you just mention in the packet here that we have letters from Neil and Velas?
Can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot, yeah. Yeah, let me, while we're waiting on something, in your packets, I forgot to mention this under my, my grant report. In your packets, you've got a letter from, excuse me, you guys done? Okay.
Joy's on a little mission for me, please. Sorry for the interruption.
Applications, ARPA applications.
I have them online, I don't use that stuff.
Okay.
Why?
Because there's a confidential document in there that.
Oh, yes, no, I saw something in there, yeah.
Yeah. I just discarded it.
Okay, good.
Yep.
I can discard that, thank you.
Yes, no.
Yeah.
A lot of that will get
Okay.
discarded.
I thought it was
I
for
appreciate it.
justification of
Yeah.
No,
reduced, yeah.
that was,
Okay,
Not a problem,
okay.
thank you.
not a problem.
Coming back, as I was saying, I did not fill you in under my grant committee report.
Oh, this one I
In your
didn't know
packet,
anyway.
you have a letter from Congressman Neal and a letter from Senator Velas in support of our grant that I mentioned that we had just applied for with the Greenway Committee, this RAISE, R-A-I-S-E, federal grant. And both Congressman Neal's office and Senator Velas's office put in letters of support for that grant. So we drafted most of the language, but they were agreeable to move it around the way they saw fit and sign that, and that was an attachment to our grant application. So given this is a federal grant, it was particularly important to try and get Congressman Neal's support on that, and they were very quick turnarounds on both of them. So we did try also the two Senate offices, Warren and Markey, and did not get a response, unfortunately, but this is okay for now. So that was in the packet that I didn't mention before. Okay, let's go on to the ARPA applications, and we have, I guess, what's come in. We're starting to say what's come in so far. And one of the things I think tonight, or for me anyway, I just sort of see this as kind of informational, just to see what kinds of things are coming at us. I think we learned at our meeting with the MMA folks on the weekend some ways to kind of document and track the applications coming in and put them in the correct category per the Treasury guidance, and have a real tracking system for these. And so we will, I think, endeavor to do that. So at this point in time, I don't know how people would like to handle just looking at these. We haven't really still chomped down on the notion that we had started talking about as to whether we're going to aim for the lost revenue as a full 100% or a portion of lost revenue and something else. I think we heard something about that at the meeting. And so I'm open to hearing how anybody would like to proceed. I don't know if it's worth going through every application tonight and just reading out what we have, just for...
I think it would be great to actually read all the different requests so the public can actually hear what's requested.
Yeah.
I don't really think I'm prepared to vote on anything
No.
other than one.
Yeah.
We have 3 applications that funds were already expended. It was just to have the paper trail, and those were the Board of Health, COVID test, clinic, police detail and all that. But I also am ready to support the technology assistance on the Arpa survey. But that's the only one that comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't planning on reading out all the, not meaning reading all the narrative and all the.
No, just the title of what the
titles of things.
requests
Okay,
are.
I was going to say, we'll be here for
I mean, what do you think? What do you think?
General is better.
Just the, what came in the request dollar amount?
Okay, I think we could handle that. Let us try. Let me start doing a few, and then we'll just sort of pass them on down, if everybody can kind of follow in. Let's see here.
Are you going one by one? I mean.
Yeah, I've got, well, the top one on my packet was for Norris. Right?
Yep.
Let me make sure I've got the right one here now. Sorry. Where the money is, okay. This is a request for, from Norris for $38,570. And I'm believing, hang on. This was to fund a full-time behavioral counselor, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, board certified. BCBA.
Yeah, board certified behavioral, yeah, I'm not sure what the A is. What's the A?
Analyst.
Analyst.
Board certified behavior analyst.
Okay, so it's to request to fund a full-time BCBA in the amount of $38,570.
Can I just ask, with these school requests for this neurodiversity program, is this expected to be ongoing expenses that will be absorbed somehow, or is this a startup cost? John, do you know?
Oh, I do.
I thought these were supposed to be ongoing, no? No?
Did you not? You sat right here with us for the whole presentation.
Well, I wasn't here, and
I know you were.
I have to watch the video. I haven't had a chance yet.
Yeah.
I was just wondering.
But Chris, the chair was there.
Yes, I was.
So these 4 requests are what the school department is looking to as initial startup cost over the 18 months. I think the cumulative number escapes me right now what it would be, but the ultimate goal is to repeat the process that we did on the
Language-based learning.
language-based services. For that $41,000 investment, we ended up eliminating any need for any of the students to go out of district. And right now, between out-of-district placement and transportation, it's costing the Norris budget of just under $400,000. And these children, if we can't correct it and keep them in-house, and there are another 29 identified.
Yeah, I actually saw,
Well,
I was here for the presentation by the school committee. I was just wondering if this ARPA request is startup only, and they're planning and hoping to absorb it into the future budget, or it's just
Right,
startup?
so the school committee's directive to the superintendent was to use this approach to come in for the ARPA money for the first year and a half, when ARPA expires. And then at the end of that, we expect, if we're successful, a reduction in out-of-district placement that would then replace the funding source.
Okay,
Yeah.
because one of the
Have to bring in some
things
income
that
for
they
that,
sign and certify is that basically this is going to be consistent, this request is consistent
It'll
with
be
the ARPA
self-sustaining
deadlines.
eventually.
Right.
Yes.
Which is why on the front sheet, although it's very clear on the next proposal, the first year 77,000, then it's only 33. So they cut it by 50%.
Okay, okay.
Yep, and actually, I take that back on the first one, sorry, as I look at the FTE for the BCBA.
Yeah.
38,570 for FY '23 and 33,024 for September to December '24,
Yep,
correct?
correct.
Okay, so that was one request. The next one is the full-time special education teacher for the neurodiversity program that we were just referring to. That request is $77,330 for fiscal '23 and $33,024 for the September-December '24, fiscal '24, which, as people may remember, that's the ending of the ARPA use of money. The next application, the third one from Norris, was for an FTE for a special education paraprofessional for the neurodiversity program at Norris. And that is $30,000, the request is $30,165 for fiscal '23 and $15,080 for the September to December FY '24 period. Next, fourth one from Norris is a paraprofessional development on neurodiversity for the faculty and staff at Norris.
That would be 1 year, in 1 year only.
That was probably a one-year money, and where am I seeing that money? That was $17,223.60 for faculty and staff, for all faculty and staff to attend, plus $5,000 to pay the trainer to plan and prepare the initial professional development on neurodiversity. Okay. Next we have, so there were 4 from Norris. So the fifth one here that we have is from the First Congregational Church of Southampton for driveway repair. And this request is for $22,500. Okay. And I think there were some pages that didn't get copied here. There's lots of these had some attachments, and the copies didn't all come through correctly. So when we get to actually reviewing these, we'll have them in more detail, I think.
Yeah, my intention is actually, I've already put the separate file in the Dropbox, but actually within that file, it says ARPA applications, to put the individual applications in there.
Yeah.
So
It would be great if Judy's able to do this, is to actually have a, department
Yep.
request.
Yeah, we're going to make the spreadsheet like we
Okay,
saw
good.
from the Holyoke
Yeah.
example.
That will be separate.
Yeah,
from-
we need
Can I
to
just
do.
ask a question about the Norris request?
Yeah.
I'm looking at ARPA eligible spending categories, and there's 4 of them, and then other, and they check for all of those neurodiversity expenses, respond to the COVID-19 public health emergency and its negative economic impacts. Is that true?
I would see it that way. Negative economic impact, negative impact in general, because of
Yeah, I'm
all
just,
the issues that kids have.
if
Yeah.
we're stuck with these categories, I'm just wondering, not that we can't do the lost revenue thing, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask if people agree that this was, to me, it doesn't sound exactly like a match.
But I do think that they're saying that a lot of the behavior issues that they're dealing with are a result
Related
of
to
the
COVID.
isolation and so on from
Sure.
COVID.
Okay.
And that's what they're
Just
trying
wanted
to
to
address.
Correct, yeah, I think the word economic in there, its negative economic impacts is maybe the one
What
that's
throws it, yeah.
a little bit skewed there, but yeah.
Okay.
When we come back to really reviewing them, we can
Okay.
kind of put those in order there, maybe better. Okay, so then after the church, hang on, I lost it.
So I think the point about the church, too, is that they were commenting about they gave out a lot of masks, they were heavily involved with the distribution of food, and so that was their,
Well, yeah, and we also have an agreement with them to use the church, I believe, as
emergency.
emergency center and cooling, heating center, et cetera. So it's just, it's not the parking lot, it's the driveway itself from College Highway up to the front door, I understand. Okay, I can't find the next one. Okay, the next one, from the essential town employees, this was for premium pay for essential work performed by the town of Southampton employees. And this was to recommend police, fire, and dispatch employees an extra $2 an hour, and all other town employees $1.25 an hour. And this would be for essential work performed during the dates of the emergency, March 10th, 2020 to June 15th, 2021. And the total amount, where am I not seeing it? Hang on.
271, 749, 31.
Thank you. It's not that good. Yeah, 271, 749, and 31.
Can I ask 2 questions about that? First one is, I know that a number of employees received funding from the state, a $500 check. And the last thing that's signed off on this application says that I understand that the fund request does not duplicate any other operational or government funding. So is that a concern at all from your understanding? I mean, it's ARPA funds that they got from the state. Is there any duplication here?
I only know of one person. That person made less than $10,000 from the town, and I would not worry about it.
Okay, I just wondered about it. And the other thing is, and I don't know if Chief Illingsworth knows the answer to this, I would have a hard time supporting an hourly addition to a salaried person, but I would certainly support the same thing in a different funding mechanism. So does this involve an hourly wage increase to a salaried person? So did salaried people sit down and figure out how many hours they worked, and then there was a figure based on an amount per hour, as opposed to getting a lump bonus that would be similar or the same?
Ian Illingsworth, Police Chief. It's based on the hours they worked that they actually reported to work with that increase per hour. So if they reported during this time frame, let's say 500 hours that they reported to work during the state of emergency, then it would be either $500 times $2 an hour or $500 hours times $1.25. That's what it's based on.
Okay, thanks, Ian. And thanks for all the backup. We see that we have lots of detail in terms of all the employees and their total number of hours and their total pay that's being requested by department, and all the departments have signed off on that. So thanks for the thoroughness of putting in the supporting documentation there.
I know we're not going to have to, I would just point out as a reminder to everybody that there are employees excluded from this list right now. So just reminding everybody
Okay.
that those, for example,
Our elected officials?
the police chief is not on this list.
Yes, he is.
I don't think so. I thought we had to make special special consideration for
I
it.
believe
I believe he is.
I am on the list.
He's
My
on.
bad, I get the special consideration.
Okay, so it requires a second
Yes, it does.
a second vote.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, he's on there. Yeah, okay. Anything? Yeah, okay. All right. Next one, moving forward, this is from the Board of Health, and this was for the COVID vaccine clinics that have already occurred. This is from January and February. There was money for police officer duty and custodial fees, and all of that ended up being $732 to oversee the clinics.
And that was already approved.
That was already approved, so this went ahead at that point in time. COVID rapid test distribution. This was for a total, in 2 batches, we had a total of 1,392 test kits that were ordered, and the total amount was $26,448. And again, that was already approved and done, so this is just documenting the fact that we have done these. These have all been paid off, and like we said, we've made major headway in terms of actually putting forth the kits themselves. All right. Anybody else want to jump in and read some? I don't need to read all night long.
Doing a great job.
You're doing a great job.
Doing a great job? All right, I'll keep on going. My voice is lasting. Next one is from, let's see, MCCV Inc., doing business as McKell's Coffee. This is to respond to the negative economic impacts of COVID, and, sorry, let me find.
It's to increase outdoor seating.
Right, I'm sorry.
And
find the amounts here.
25,000.
25,000, sorry, I think I couldn't find the right page here, I'm sorry.
extend hours of work, digitalize our menu, and increase and improve outdoor seating.
Right, okay. So the request is 25,000, okay, very good, thank you. All right, and another one, let's see, another one from the Public Board of Health. Board of Health. Public Health, yeah. So another one from the Board of Health. Sorry, these pages are just confusing in terms of how they're done here. So pandemic public health funding, let me be sure that I'm...
9,764. It's on, the pages aren't numbered. I can't.
No, the pages are over here, sorry, it's just frustrating. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, it's the second to last page always has the amount, Chris.
It's just my second to last page.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, it is, because it's all kinds of documentation is all mixed in with
I'll
it.
take you on that. Francine, the amount again, please?
Yeah, it's $9,764.71.
And what was that for?
It was for
Wages.
compensation for loss of time off. I mean, there's several descriptions in here. It's, if I could summarize it,
Which one's this?
the Board of Health.
Board of Health.
one.
I'm not finding the right.
It's funding for extended COVID staff hours.
No, here's the letter, I'm sorry. Yep.
So it's more in the, over on the cover letter. They're asking for
Yeah, it's in the cover letter.
$1,216.99 for 40 hours worked since January 22 through March of 22. The funding will prevent the health department from being in deficit at the end of fiscal year 22. They're also requesting 3 additional hours per week for the position of health director to be funded by Arpa funds March 26 till June 30th in the amount of $1,249.08. The total ARPA funding requested is $2,466.07. The Board of Health will amend its 23 budget to reflect additional.
So
The next page.
Okay, so that's the Board of Health, all right.
Yeah, so I guess my question on that one, because it's to avoid deficit spending,
I don't know.
if we don't approve that, are we basically forcing that employee onto unpaid vacation? Because they can't go through the year in deficit spend.
Yeah, and I don't know if we can do deficit spending on.
No, but I mean, they have X amount of money. If they choose, I guess,
Right.
Yeah.
if they choose to use it up early,
Right.
it just means towards the end of the year, there'll be no coverage in that department.
Well,
Exactly.
there might be a day closed, a week, or half a day closed, or something. That's a possibility, yeah.
And basically, the
I don't
Board of
think
Health
Arpa
is
can cover that.
responsible for that budget number, so they should be watching the hours and
Yes, I'm trying to figure it out. And that
Individuals
brings
work.
me to my point about watching the budget
Yeah,
and
so
managing
try to
it
stay within
your
budget,
meeting.
right, yeah. I mean, going,
But let me correct the number that I read for the
Yep.
Board of Health. I was wrong. It's $2,466.07.
that's the total request for the
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
amounts.
I don't know where I got the other number.
Yeah, it's probably on another
together.
request here, I think. I think it is on the other request. Okay, so, next one, Fire Department, if I'm following correctly, if I'm off, let me know. Fire Department, this would be for, this is the one, pursue compensation for lost time off. Chief was unable to use any vacation personal time during 20 and 21. Total amount requested for the two amounts is over 100 hours each year not used for vacation, requesting $9,764.71. And almost done. Water Department, Tom gone. This is a biggie. This is to do,
6,500 linear feet of water.
yes, hang on, where's that? Right, so this is to actually replace the 90-year-old cast iron water main on College Highway from Fulmer Road to Palmer and Meadow Road with a bigger diameter PVC pipe from a 6-inch to a 12-inch. So 6,500 linear feet of water main associated hydrants and water services. There's lots more justification there. Total amount of ARPA funds requested, $1,800,000.
That's exactly what we have.
They're asking for 265.
Yes.
I did see that 265 there, but I think that's what the water
Oh, it
department's
says right
hoping
here,
they're
total
going to
amount
pay
of ARPA funds
themselves.
requested.
Yeah, they're only asking for
8.8 million.
265.
Goodness.
On that one, I'd like to, this one, I'd like to ask the submitter of the application a follow-up question. I'm happy to do it in writing through the TA and just share the answer back with us. But that 265, knowing that we have an 18-month window, can they define that 265? Do they need it all within this next 12 months? Or could a portion of it be out in that 18? So is it coming out of the current 600,000 we have, or?
I'm sure they can. I know their initial thought was to do about 1,000 linear feet of that project. So whether they're doing it or thinking of doing it at the beginning, if they're starting at Fulmer Road or in the middle or whatever, but I'm sure they can define that.
Right, right. Yep.
Yeah, they've got it broken down into three sections here, I believe.
And
They
for
presented to
people
us, they said they'd be happy with 10%.
It's not 265,000. It's 2,065,000.
Right, the
That's
total,
the total project, but
Yes.
they're only asking for 265 from ARPA.
65,000, right.
no,
65,000.
That's not
No.
what it says.
no, that's the additional funds available from their own budget. 265,
The line right above it
Cost.
says, total amount of ARPA funds requested,
yeah.
1,865,000.
So the total budget for the project, the entire
Oh,
project.
so they would take 265 out of their rate? Yeah, well,
Yeah.
never mind, you don't have to ask the
Yeah,
question.
so they
I
are
already know
asking
what
for the $1.8 million
Well,
and
like I
another,
said, when they
Yes.
presented, they said they would be happy with
Right.
10%.
right, another $265,000 out of their own budget because the total cost of the whole project is estimated at $2,065,000, and they've broken it down into three phases. So College Highway, Fulmer to Clark, looking like around $604,000.
Did they loop the cemetery in there?
Phase
They are going in front of the cemetery, yes.
Phase 2, Clark to East.
Yeah, for
Not ripping up the
$1.8 million.
sidewalk, are they?
Yeah, it goes from Former Road to
To Palmer Meadow.
Pomeroy Meadow.
So, yes, so Clark Street to East Street is $736,000. East Street to Pomeroy Meadow, $725,000. So it's broken into 3 phases, and that's how they've projected it, okay? Yep, all right, and let's see.
I'll read the next one. Next one is Chris Valls, and that is for reimbursement of technical support to actually do the ARPA survey. And the total amount of that request is $300. And that bill is included in it, and it's from Tech IQ Support.
Technique. So that's what we have for ones that have come in so far, and there's probably more that will come in, but that's,
Yeah, I did mine after the cutoff date for this one, so.
Do we get anything from the sewer, up by Hampton Ponds?
I'm doing that one, so
Oh, you
that's.
are, okay, that's one of them?
Yeah.
That's in
Yeah.
that next package.
yeah, so there'll be some coming in. And we said that we would keep this round open until May 1st, I believe, to start with. So I think in the meantime, we need to, get our paperwork and tracking charts and stuff in order for when we can sit down and really look at these in more detail. Do we still want to talk about how we're going to divvy up the money, or we want to wait on that?
I was going to make a motion to support the $300 reimbursement for the tech support for the ARPA survey.
Oh, well, okay. I hear the motion. I don't know that I can vote on it.
I'll second it.
It just
Are
seems
you,
like,
are you recusing yourself?
I'm not sure. I'm the one that managed the survey, but it's not coming to me, obviously, but it's my proposal to pay the person that assisted with the data entry and analysis.
So this isn't a reimbursement to you for something you
No,
already
I have not
spent?
paid the bill. Have not paid the bill.
okay, thank you for clarifying that. It's
Yeah.
actually to pay for that service.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, do we have a second?
Francine seconded.
Francine, second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Am I allowed to vote?
I would, yeah, because
Yes.
you're not personally
Yeah.
benefiting from
I'll
it.
say I
Yeah.
do too.
Yeah.
All right,
I mean,
thank you. I wasn't sure.
You made out the application, so.
Yeah, you did a
that's
lot
all.
of work on it, too.
It's not, you're not paying
Okay.
yourself, so.
All
you're
right, are
fine.
there other, Rainey, you had mentioned you wanted to deal with a couple that had already been approved, so that would be
We already approved the ones for the
for the
clinic
public
and
health, so those
police
are already
detail.
dealt with.
Those are already
So
voted on.
Those were voted on. So
Which
we have
specific ones for the public health?
the vaccine clinic,
Vaccine clinic.
not all of them, the
Because
vaccine
there's some
clinic.
other ones.
And the,
We were just, the ones that we already
the
spent the money.
COVID kits.
The police detail, the COVID kits, and the
clinic.
vaccine clinic.
Yeah,
And there'll
yeah.
probably be another request because of that clinic that's happening on the 27th.
Right, yeah, right, so we'll document those, okay, all right. Any further discussion on ARPA that we want to deal with?
Yes,
Is that a yes or no?
yes, but I have to
Yeah.
do a calculation first.
You're adding it all up?
No.
Were you totaling all the money as we went along there?
I think, just back on the other question about utilization discussion, how we're going to utilize the funds and what we're going to break it down in classification. So there's at least 2 requests before us right now that we would have to designate X amount of money to go somewhere else and not be revenue. I forget what the terminology is. But if we declare all this, revenue loss, then it can only be spent within the town's tax ID, so to speak. Correct? Enterprise accounts, and it has to be within the town overall. If we deem 100% of this revenue loss.
No, actually, we found out at the meeting on
Yeah.
Friday that
Saturday.
we can do everything as revenue loss. However, if the town is thinking of doing anything outside of what might be the normal operations of the town, when we do that, to actually list the categories that they may be going into and declare them basically a municipal benefit.
You mean like
So
the private
that's-
business, for example? Like the private business, for example?
Like the church?
Well, like,
Church,
the
yeah.
private business, or if you wanted to reserve some monies for, I don't know, a nonprofit health clinic or anything like that.
Right, and what was the terminology you said we have to list it as, non-municipal use? Is that what you just said?
No, I said for any of the approved categories, but for declaring them municipal benefits.
Municipal benefits, all right. Then, for discussion, to see what everybody thinks, I think if just to kind of formalize this as we move along, I would say that we allocate no more than 5%, which would be $90,000
On what?
for potential municipal benefit. So as we go through these, there's this 5% of the ARPA money that may be used for like the church, like nonprofit health clinics outside of the norm, as a guide, just as a guide as we go through the things.
But we would still be able to declare the entire amount as revenue loss,
Yes,
is what I'm
correct.
understanding.
Yep.
But you're just talking about our internal guiding principle of how we would do this.
Yeah.
And I guess I'd have to know, like, obviously, a private business would be in that category, and so would the church. Would the Hampden Ponds Association be part of that, or is that a municipal, would that be within the municipal?
I would say right now that's a definite, municipal
okay.
territory, but let me see if I can come up with some draft
Yeah, I
language
just
for
have to have a
your
little bit of parameters
next
on
meeting
that.
for you to
Because I think we don't know what's coming at us still.
Well,
There
that's
may be
why
more
I'm
coming
only
in,
saying like
too.
a principle, a guideline, whatever
Yeah.
terminology we're comfortable with, so when we're all looking at these, we kind of have the same rules
I'll
of
see if I can at
engagement.
least give you like a starting point, and then you can say, well, no, I don't think that one, or how about this or that, and add to it.
I'd like to see a little bit more of what comes in, because I know that it means a lot to, like, Holyoke give some funds out to some of the businesses. I mean, obviously hair places, there's a lot of places that actually lost a lot of money, and I just think we have to continue to support businesses as much as we can.
Okay.
So I'd just like to know, what does 5% represent in terms of the percentage of applications?
And knowing that we've only got half of it right now to play with.
Right.
So.
If you want the easy way out, just give it all to the water department. One vote and we're done.
We don't have to worry about it anymore.
That'd be a little too easy.
Take that along.
A little too easy. So anyway, I think, are we basically saying that we kind of like the idea of lost revenue as where we're going? That seems to be the simplest way, and what we were learning at the conference, that basically everything is lost revenue. That doesn't preclude us from doing anything with nonprofits or anybody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the downside of that? We keep talking about it, but it was,
It's a paperwork.
I don't see a
Otherwise, if
downside.
we
I
don't
don't
do it.
see a downside.
Okay.
My first initial worry was that if we did that, we were not going to be able to fill some of those other categories, but
Right.
those were dispelled on.
That's what we-
Actually,
Okay.
it wasn't Friday, it was Saturday.
Yeah,
that
that's
They
what we
had
learned
that
Saturday.
conference, so.
Yeah, okay.
But just going back to what she talked about in terms of recruitment of money, we can't emphasize, we all should be saving the copies of these applications.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, no, we've got to get a real system.
Not us, but there should be, a permanent file set up so that every piece of paper
Yep.
that that needs to be attributed to this process.
Right.
Because she's scared. I was in the situation of federal grants, and they come looking for you years later to take money
Yeah.
back.
7 or 8 years later, and if you can't justify it, they take it back.
Yeah. So we need to go on record.
Yeah, that's
saying
what
we're going to
The recommendation to document everything, 5 times over is there. So her basic comment, unfortunately, was go ahead and kill trees. Document is what she said. So anyway, but we will get some spreadsheets set up and have our tracking system here so we know what's come in. We're going to get it so we can figure out how anyway, we'll talk about where we can put it up. We need to have it up on the website so people can see, we need a fully transparent process here.
I think we should put a file cabinet in for one of the expenses.
Yeah, right.
File cabinet, they suggested that we set a whole room aside.
Yeah, really. So, all right. A couple more issues here in terms of new business. Annual town report update. How are we doing with submissions from the various departments and committees? Are we?
We're just about done. Now when my files went flying.
There's some over there behind your computer.
Right behind your computer. Right
here.
There.
No,
Mine.
Anyway, most have turned in their reports, have they? I think.
Most. The ones that still haven't turned them in, which I had Judy give them a deadline of yesterday, was Building Department, Cultural Council, if we wanted to do a dedication to anyone, Finance Committee, Legal, some of the town accountant ones, but we're waiting for the final figures, My Welcome, the Tree Warden, And I think actually Jen sent her last report today, so that's it.
Good, okay. So hopefully that can all get pulled together. We do usually have someone that we dedicate the annual town report to. I think there's only been a year or two that we've missed that. Does anybody have any thoughts about someone? I have someone in mind myself, but I'd like to hear from anybody else.
Is there criteria?
I don't know that we've had a major formal criteria. It's basically people that have provided service to the town, been, sort of, I don't know, model citizens in a way. I mean, just helping out wherever they can in whatever way they can over the years, just dedicated town service, I would say. And we have a listing of those that have gotten it in the past, so we wouldn't want to repeat somebody that's...
Read you the last few of them?
Sure, you could do that.
Okay, so 2020 was John Martin. 2019 was no one. 2018 was Art Lawrence. 2017 was Richard Frary. 2016 was Virginia Ahart. 2015 was Joe Slattery. 2014 was Michael Phelan and John Furman. And then there were 3 years without any, and then it goes Ann Tricco. So there's been...
More recent people?
Yeah, I have the list since 1996, and I think this came from you, Lucy, so thank you for that.
Okay. So I'd like to throw out a name, if anybody would care to hear. I'm going to throw out the name of Ted Hendrick, actually. I think with the...
Sorry, who?
Ted Hendrick, Theodore Hendrick, with the work that both he and his wife did years ago for the history of Southampton. They developed the book on Southampton with the Southampton history. They have... The family has been involved, obviously, in donating 2 pieces of land to Southampton, the Lyman Conservation Area down across from the golf course, and then most recently the land on the corner of Cold Spring and Rattle Hill area. They've just been very, very involved over time, or Ted has, but his wife has now passed away. But Ted would be a candidate that I would think of, but I'm willing to hear others.
Support Ted Hendrick. I think he's done a lot for the town and hasn't received it.
He has not received it. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, no, I was too.
Yeah.
It doesn't...
And Dick Ferry has received it, right?
Yeah,
Dick
and
would have
then I
been...
think Dottie Ferry received it in 200.
Yeah, so Dick might have been in the other one.
I think if the, I'm assuming that there's a paragraph or a write-up that goes along with...
usually a photo and a paragraph.
If you're going to reference in there, the past decade of things done, then... you might want to consider listing his wife too in memorandum, because obviously,
Possibly.
Both of them.
Good idea. I mean, Ted is still with us, but he's pushing, I'm not sure now, 97?
Right.
I think.
He was one of the ones that got back up to the Boston cane. There was
Right, yeah.
he and his sister-in-law.
Right, they were in lieu. Speaking of which, it must be about, is it time to do the Boston Cane Award again?
No.
Not yet?
it's-
You have to wait till
that distinction stays.
Don't jinx that poor person.
No,
Okay,
it's
I
the
wasn't
person who keeps it.
Okay, we keep it forever. That's good, for a while.
There are people already think it's a curse.
That's good. All right, moving on. So we have a possibility of Ted Hendrick.
I'll make a
Any thoughts?
motion to dedicate this year's annual town report to Ted Hendrick, and I don't know his wife's name.
Maxine.
Maxine in memorandum.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other discussion on it? Any other ideas? I mean, I'm willing to hear that. Okay, if not, could we have a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Perfect, thank you. All right, next. Beagle Club license agreement. Have we heard anything from our famous Beagle friends?
No, I have addresses but not telephone numbers, so first thing tomorrow morning I'll have Judy see if she can match a telephone number to the addresses of the individuals I have, so I can call.
I think Cindy Palmer, who is out of the country right now, had contacted the Beagle Club as part of her chair of the open space at one point, so she may have some contact information. She did speak to them.
Yeah, like I say, I've got the names and the addresses of the principals, but I don't have phone numbers to go with them.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Okay, so next, articles for annual town meeting.
Hey, oh, you're skipping.
Any other business? I cannot
Yes.
wait.
Yes,
Okay,
I have a
sorry.
question.
Yes, I'd like for the next executive session we have, could we add a discussion item on update on any and all pending legal matters before the town,
Okay.
please?
And I wanted to ask a question about what the status of the naming rights is. Is that going to end up at the town meeting?
It's slated,
Okay, good.
Yep.
I have some people who have been asking me that.
yes.
Yeah, we have, lots of feedback we've got to deal with from the
Okay.
lawyers. Yeah. Okay, all right, so thank you. I always tend to forget. So any other business? If not, now we can move on to some articles for the annual town meeting, and I'm going to turn this over to Ed.
Okay, I think actually we've gone through most of these, but I'll just go down the list. Proposed articles for the annual town meeting, the transfer from free cash to capital stabilization, operational stabilization, and OPEB by policy. The town bylaw amendments, we have 7 or 8 of them that'll be coming forward that have been reviewed by
You want me to give you the names of
town
them?
council. Go ahead.
Okay.
They're the same ones we've had before. We'll just keep on moving. We've got to do some edits on them, the ones that have, we've talked about for months now.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ed, let's keep going.
Community preservation requests, their regular report of the Community Preservation Committee, which includes the $7,500 for CPC for annual operating expenses and the distribution of to the CPC accounts. Housing, and they've got 2 articles, one for the Housing Authority of $125,000 for purchase of property to come from the community housing account, and that's the property in College Highway, and then the Water Department for $443,700 from the undesignated account for water protection, land acquisition on Pomeroy Meadow Road, and they've also put in for a water protection grant for that project. Revolving funds, renewal of the spending limits, and then we've got 2 that are requesting articles to increase their spending limits. Fire chief is requesting an increase to the revolving fund spending cap for fire burning permits from $5,000 to $20,000. And then Conservation Commission is requesting an increase in the revolving fund spending cap for the Conservation Commission forestry revolving fund from $10,000 to $20,000.
Can I just ask, Ed, are there other revolving accounts that go up to 20,000 or higher?
I'd have to go back.
That's okay, we'll see it when we'll see it when you, that's okay.
I believe we've got some that are up at 20,000. I don't know if we've got any that are higher than, some of the peer review ones may, but.
Okay, well, we'll see them when we get that, when you give it to us for the articles.
Yeah, well, I've got, I can cut and paste it out of our last annual town meeting of all of them with their caps, and I'll send that to everybody. Let's see, transfer for the amortization of WPAT bonds, if we've got any for this year. An article requesting permission to do 5-year leases of copiers for the police department and the town hall. Article for previous fiscal year unpaid bills, there's 11 of them. Article for police department account transfers, 3, which total $9,000. The actual operating budget, transfer from ambulance receipts for fiscal year 22 budget, shortfall of $4,000. Transfer from ambulance receipts for the fiscal year 22 ambulance debt, both principal and interest payment. Let's say, capital requests, the Norris Masonry repairs for $7,500, the Highway Department heating replacement for $56,000, the cemetery water line replacement for $13,200, and the Norris School roof repair, $7,400. I listed out others if funding was available or if the select board wanted to go further than that. The Highway Department loader replacement, debt of $228,000. An article for the Transfer Station Enterprise Fund for fiscal year 2023. The Transfer Station Enterprise Fund, and then an article for the Water Enterprise fiscal year 2023 budget. And then transfer of ambulance receipts of $200,000 for operation and ambulance debt, which actually just gets rolled into the operating budget wording, and transfer for ambulance receipts for ambulance debt repayment for fiscal year 22. Which I think I know I had already listed before. Then any miscellaneous articles.
I think we've got one more to add from the Tech Committee, the creation of the MLP.
Yes, that's one of the ones. And there's another one, too.
Can I ask a question? How do articles either make the cut or don't make the cut?
Other than citizen petition articles, it's by the select board's vote.
I know that the 3 articles that I submitted are nowhere on here, so somehow they got eliminated before even getting here.
Which 3 articles?
I sent you 3 emails to you, and I copied Chris on all of them, and it was the whether to have a discussion about flipping the treasurer to an appointed position, establishing a charter commission to review the DOR ruling of 2016, and the home rule petition to increase the number of all-purpose liquor licenses by 2.
Correct, yep.
As at the request of Pooza's Food.
Yep. Sorry.
Okay, I'll have to go back and look for that email.
Totally forgot those, John.
Yep.
There's been no.
So, my apologies.
Totally forgot them. They were brought up.
I'm okay if they end up getting cut.
No, there was no decision to
Okay.
cut anything. They just got
No.
overlooked, just totally overlooked. They were brought up at different times in past meetings
You know,
and not put aside as.
I try to follow your directives, Chris.
Sorry. Too many things coming at us here, but yes, thank you.
And if you email me, you follow directions because it said send them to the town administrator. So
And that's why I copied the chair.
my apologies.
Yep, we can find those, I'm sure.
Nothing, absolutely nothing personal, John.
Okay.
Just,
See, you wait until after we did your evaluations.
yeah, just, what's left of my brain is just totally overwrought, so.
All right.
Okay.
So we
fair
have
enough.
the three points. We'll find those in emails from John.
Yes.
And I think there's actually might be one more that I had missed that may be in
All right, we've
here.
got quite a few here,
Yeah.
to say the least, so.
Is this a record?
I don't know, by the time we sit down and number them all.
We can do better. Come on, quorum's only going to be 25.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, and then a possible article for Easthampton Media for PEG access broadcast production equipment. And I think that's it.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so we've got to work on getting these, and Francine, you're having a bylaws committee meeting to review these?
We're having a meeting tomorrow, and Ed, you should get them by the end of the day tomorrow or Thursday, depending upon any other tweaks that we make.
Okay.
But I count 8.
Oh, and I just will say, since the select board's here and the bylaw review committee is also here, even if it went on this particular annual town meeting, it would be too late for this election cycle, but the Park Commission would like to set their terms officially at 3 years rather than the 5 years, because they're afraid that 5-year terms are scaring anybody away, and it is within the power of the select board actually to do that, but we probably should do it through a bylaw just so it's documented.
Okay. I don't think that would be a new one then, I don't believe that, yeah, okay.
Actually, the statute says you can set it at 1, 2, 3, I think even 4 and 5, so.
Okay.
Christine, can I speak?
Yep.
Just to let you know, the person that was nominated last week on the floor for the Park Commission for 5 years, one of them did withdraw her She declined her nomination.
Okay.
She withdrew her
It was a
nomination.
5-year appointment?
One of the, yep.
Okay.
So, just to let you know.
That was.
Yep,
Thanks, Lucy.
thank you. Okay, well, that would be a new bylaw. That doesn't, I don't believe they exist right now, so, yeah, okay. But that could be for
And
the
I'm
next
I'm
one.
willing to draft it.
Yeah, that's fine. Probably wouldn't take
But
much. Much language.
if it made it to a special town meeting, it would be adequate for the next
Sure,
election
yeah,
cycle.
we wouldn't include it
And we'll
here.
just we'll have to specify what happens to the individuals that are on there if they're currently holding
Finish their
positions that would go longer than that, too.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Okay, all right. Anything else then on articles? We've got a bunch to draft up. If not, we'll keep on moving. No signatures, no licenses or permits, no warrants, no minutes to approve, no documents to sign, pending items. Old Town Hall, we're still waiting on some, well, I guess we're not getting anything from Hill Associates, but we're hoping to have some funds there. That may come back as an ARPA request to do some repairs on the town hall, the old town hall.
And we went on a tour of it recently.
Yeah, I hadn't mentioned that
It
yet.
would be good, I mean, the upstairs, it would be great to have a voluntary cleanup thing, but one thing that's important to know is whether or not those Mass General Law books can be thrown out. Historical Commission came and asked us that question, and now that I see them, they're not unique
know,
to Southampton. That would be one thing that could be done.
Took a couple pictures of them, I'll show them to you, and we can maybe just fire that off to Michelle.
They're all
and just-
automated now, and they're not even Southampton
Yeah.
booklets.
I mean, they
just
go back to the
Mass General.
1800s at least, but, it's like, it's kind of a shame. But just to say, yeah, we did, Rini and I and Christina took a look at the upstairs of the police station just to see what was up there after the Historical Commission came and talked to us about all the materials up there. There is actually a box of hanging folder files, which are new.
Oh, yeah?
We might use those. There's another ballot box, another blue ballot box like you had the other night, instead of me making one for surveys all the time. Anyway, but I think, once we get through town meeting, whatever, but it would be nice to have people that are involved with some of the materials that are up there. We saw stuff from Treasurer's Office, I think, blanking out. We had some select board stuff up there, but there was, from American Legion was up there. Planning board, there were various pieces of stuff there that go back into the 90s and beyond.
You said American Legion, right?
Yeah, most likely, a lot of it would be to be tossed, shredded, but it would be good to someday have a time where we could get 4 or 5 people that represented what's up there, just to come and say, yeah, we don't want it. And then we could figure out a way to dispose of
Can I ask you a
it.
question, Lucy? How often do you get requests for documents like certificate, death certificate, marriage certificate, birth certificates?
For a reason, or?
No, how often does that happen, that you get some, do you have to go find them somewhere? Yeah.
Are they online, though, most, like for historical purposes, like for anybody doing genealogy research or something, or?
I did go back to, I have a cemetery book for death certificates, so we did do that for plot numbers and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'll look through old articles,
Yeah,
that I have in my office. Birth certificates, we go back to like 1938, 31. That I have in the blue file cabinet.
of hard copies, or, yeah, okay.
1800,
Yeah.
1901.
Okay. Well, we'll have to take a look at some point to get up there, because that would be nice to just kind of clean out that space and understand what's there and what needs to go away. Then we can think about what else we can do with that space.
Can I suggest that we think about, and I'm sure it's not, it could be one of those ARPA things. I mean, I could look into the cost of digitizing all these records. I mean, so that it's easier for people to retrieve them.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, we're way behind the times on this.
Historical CPC is paying for a lot of the library.
Yeah, that, yes.
They've done that.
But I'm talking about the working documents that the town uses.
Yeah, yeah. be worth looking into to see, we don't know what pile of stuff we're talking about, what we would want to focus on.
Once we know,
But I think once we narrow that down, I think, to go back and do some scanning of things,
Yeah.
that would be a great idea. We need to get back into the correct century, I think, here at some point in time. Okay, 21 audit process. Did we say we didn't know what we could do with that until we had town meeting and the budget? Isn't that where we left that one? Correct me if I'm wrong. That we can't do anything more with?
Well, it's dollar value,
It was a dollar
so
value
it's either we find money to transfer to it, we use
Right.
ARPA funds to cover it, whatever.
When you thought you might be able to find some money to transfer
Yeah.
into it, which
I'll take a look.
doesn't sound
again.
like
Check
that's
that health insurance line item.
Yeah, yeah. Or again, to see if they're willing to at least understand what we've put into the effort of getting the records right as good as we can, that their level of effort to audit them for 21 should not be $30,000 worth, $36,000 worth. But I think we're all hoping that could be less. All right. I don't know if you're having other discussions with Tanya, but try to bring that up if you do, I would think.
Can I just clarify something now that you mention it?
Yeah.
Right now in the budget is 21,000.
Right.
The budget for FY23 is 36,000.
Right.
So did we get a estimate for, the estimate for FY22 is 36,000?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to close that gap if we want to go with them. But you put in 36 for FY23. I thought that was supposed to drop.
It does, so that's my mistake.
Okay.
So there's some savings there.
Okay, good.
Well, not much probably, but okay. Clearwater boundary, I think we already talked about that. Anything else on any of these? You've talked about almost all of those. So anything on the charter building or the green community grant?
No, I think I'm just going to tell them to clean out the charter building and to take it down.
Okay.
It was when we said, to leave it there, that they wanted all kinds of
Yeah, just send them a bill for rent.
agreements and whatever signed on it,
Yeah,
so.
let's just do them a letter and get that off our plate.
Yeah.
We can take this off. This has been pending forever. East Street Bridge, our East Street section of tip proposal you've talked about. We've done ARPA funds, Memorial Day. We've dealt with those, I think, already. Select board meetings, so we have a joint meeting with Finance on the 14th. I believe we set a meeting for the 19th as a joint meeting as well. Is that correct? Is that a joint meeting or not? Or a regular meeting? No, it can't be a
I
regular.
thought it was a regular meeting.
Or an executive meeting, maybe?
I thought the 19th was the joint meeting to go through and finalize the budget for both parties, to hear everything finance is saying.
Okay.
Okay,
It could
yeah.
be.
Okay.
I thought.
Yeah, I know we put the date out there,
have it on the 19th, yeah.
the 19th, right, okay. And then our regular meeting is on the 26th, right, okay. All right, and then obviously our town meeting on the 3rd.
So is there a joint meeting on the 14th?
There will be a meeting on the 14th and on the 19th.
14th and the 19th?
14th and 19th, I don't
And then
think,
26th.
and the 26th. I don't think we scheduled one, or we had the 21st out there as a holding pattern, I think.
Yes, I remember that in my notes.
Yeah, we do.
So 21st is a question mark in case we didn't get through what we got through.
Is that when we have to, that's the final day we can vote? And sign?
Yes, we would have to vote on the quorum issue
Yeah.
and,
I vote to do one or
Anything
the
else?
other,
so one or the other, either the 19th or the 21st.
not both. That's what I'm saying. Don't forget, Robert has this thing on this 21st at 7.
Right.
Yeah, I won't be here the 21st.
You won't be here. Yeah, I was going to say, Robert's thing is the 21st, his moderator meeting. Well, we could meet, that's at 7, I believe, though, so we could meet earlier than that if we needed to. Thoughts?
19 and 26.
Yeah, I see the 26th posted, but the 19th is not posted.
No, not yet. So,
Okay.
And the drop dead date that this has to be signed for the warrant is how?
Was my question. I was just going to
25th, I believe.
ask. It has to be posted on the 26th.
26, so I think we
Yes.
have to have it signed by
You'd
the
have to
20th.
sign it
25th,
before that.
right.
By the 25th, yeah, that's the real
We're
drop
gonna
dead
have to
date.
meet at least on the 19th.
Correct, yeah. So the 19th, I think we need to meet, and maybe once we get through, I don't know, we get through Thursday, we can see if we need to meet on the 21st as well, but hopefully we don't.
Okay.
But on the 26th, we do, okay? Regular meeting on the 26th at least. All right. Okay, so with that, we have tonight, actually, we're going to have we're going to go into executive session in a moment. Hopefully, we have executive session, reason being per MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Number 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, police chief, and MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparations for negotiation with non-union personnel, to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, highway superintendent. So with that, could I have
I'll second your motion.
motion? Yes, thank you. The motion made to go into executive session. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we do need to do a roll call.
Lumber,
vote.
aye.
Fowles, aye.
Piper, aye.
Fowles, aye. Okay.
Fishman, aye.
Dishman, aye. Oh, perfect. All right, so we are adjourned from regular meeting at 9:53, and we'll be going into executive session in a few minutes. Thank you.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.